Hi, I'm John Redcorn, and it's time for you to listen to the Disarranged podcast.
Welcome to the Disarrangement, hosted by the two coolest cats around, Austin Blakely and Nick Branscombe. Prepare to get disarranged.
Come on, come all, for what writes and undulates in your ears is not for the faint of heart. Behold! It is the Disarrangement. With your host, Austin Blakely here, and co-host Nick Branscombe. How's it hanging, Nick?
Greetings, friends of Earth and beyond. What is going on?
It's going. So Nick, if April showers bring Mayflowers, then what do Mayflowers bring?
A ship. A pirate ship. I don't know.
Pilgrims.
Pilgrims, okay.
It's Pilgrims.
I was kind of in the ballpark.
I didn't prepare my dad joke, so I had to find a real cheesy one that I couldn't really prepare for.
Hey, man. I liked it. Thought it was good.
What did our guests think about it?
I think it was pretty good. I like it. The execution was well done.
Thanks.
Good job.
Thanks. This is your local Cody Ball here. This is my best friend for the majority of my life. And also overall cool guy. We're going to figure out or learn a lot of stuff today because he's a very interesting fella.
It made me feel very glad to hear him say that.
Oh yeah. Well, you know, I think these things, but and I also told y'all before this cast too, that I think Nick will probably have to lead this cast because I know a lot of stuff about Cody and I don't know what questions to ask, but either way, we're going to have a great time. But we'll start with Nick here. How are you doing, man? How's your day?
Well, it's been a little under the weather. Not gonna lie. Woke up today.
You sound good at least.
Yeah, for now.
For now.
But yeah, I woke up and felt a little weak, a little drainage in the throat. But you know,
pollen baby's getting you.
I'm here, and we're gonna do the thing. You know, I took
talk a lot.
I had one COVID test left over. I bought like a 2-pack several months ago, and I took it, and it came out negative. So,
by the way, I just saw that you can order through the USPS a third set of COVID tests for free if you'd like to do that.
You get a third set if needed.
All right. But anyways,
thanks,
I had
government.
This was like the the nasal rapid test one or whatever, and so it came out negative. But the funny thing is when you look at the instructions, it's like it'll say this is what it looks like when it's positive, and it'll have like a blue and a pink line. You know, that means that it's positive. And then the thing says, now it's really rare if we have a false positive reading.
Really rare, huh?
I was like, okay. But then you turn it over to the back, and then it shows you what it looks like when it's negative. It's just one blue line means it's negative, and that's what mine was just one.
False negatives may occur.
Well, no, yeah, it's pretty much what it said. It said, but this is pretty much how it was worded. It was like, false negatives are pretty common. So you may have to. And I'm just like, so are you telling me that I'm like stupid, like that I don't know how to take this test? That you lay out all the instructions step by step. I guess maybe they think Americans are stupid.
No, I don't think they think that. I think they're telling you their product is shit.
Yeah,
that's what they're telling you.
I still think that my favorite one is when somebody sends a text to somebody and is like, you know, here's the test, and they don't like give any context, and then the other person's like, I don't care, it ain't mine, because they think it's a pregnancy test.
Oh, it ain't mine.
I've got a vasectomy, and it's like, no, I'm positive. Oh yeah.
Whatever.
But other than that, it's been I stayed productive at least, so that's good.
At least you didn't feel bad enough to have to take the day off or nothing.
No.
Which this boy don't take days off.
But I did jinx.
He's got to be dying.
Yeah, I did jinx myself though, because I was talking to my girlfriend yesterday, and so I don't know why I remember this, but last year in May, I'm pretty sure I had like a cold last year in May, and one of my biggest fears is getting sick like on the day of going on vacation or while you're on vacation.
Sick on vacation, that's what happens to me.
Yeah, and so I was like telling her, because we're leaving for the beach this Sunday, and I was like, man, you know, I feel like I'm due for a cold, and I haven't had one in a while, you know. And she's like, well, you're probably jinxing it.
Here we go.
And then sure enough, wake up today and feel like I got one. However, I guess it's good that it's happening now and not
while you're on
Oh, yeah,
vacation.
definitely.
hopefully it'll pass by Sunday. I mean, so
Well, the pollen's been pretty atrocious, so it
yes,
might be that.
God,
It's
if you
been-
anybody's listening, if you're thinking about moving to North Carolina, maybe think about that for just a second.
There are perks to living anywhere, and there are downsides to living anywhere.
Yeah.
The two I guess there's three downsides to living in North Carolina. One is pollen. That is probably number one in my opinion.
How much
Yeah.
do you like the color yellow? Just saying.
You see it a lot here.
You will see it a lot. All that plant jizz. But number two is humidity. So if you wanted to weigh
Christ.
about 100 pounds more than you really weigh, humidity is for you. If your doctor tells you have an eating disorder, move to North Carolina. You will gain the weight. I promise. Well, I'm just kidding. That's not the way it works, and that should be handled by a professional. But number three is weather in general. If you don't, okay. So when we was Cody and I went to a weenie roast this weekend, and we met an interesting fellow through Wendy. And pardon me, man, if you're listening to this podcast, I don't remember your name, but he told me a funny joke. And he goes, well, if you live in North Carolina and you don't like the weather, just wait an hour.
Yeah,
right.
Just wait
you
an
can,
hour.
you can literally experience all 4 seasons in one day.
Just wait an hour and it will change. I
It's
promise you.
Could be snowing in the morning and then it's like 70 degrees later on. It's just
Yeah, it was sunny as hell. It was sunny as hell and raining on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
It was raining in my front yard and not in my backyard for a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah,
It is insane how quick the weather can change. But overall, Cody, how have you been today?
Well, I've been doing pretty good. I think I've made a breakthrough at work. I don't know if it's like, I know it sounds really cheesy, but a lot of people have told me to say like, oh, just try to smile while you're talking. And then that actually works. But I've started saying, certainly, even if it's like not something that I can reasonably do or something. But anyway, more positive language and kind of trying to be like, all the time, I flashed a smile to him.
Yeah.
But doing that does help a little bit. So honestly, like if I have to be dumber while at work to enjoy being at work, that's fine.
Well, I'll tell you this, Cody. I did the same thing.
Right.
And so here's the issue that you're going to run into. And if you can find a better way to cope, fucking do it, man. But Cody works a desk job just like I used to. And I was literally doing things and like forcing myself to be a completely different person most of the time.
Yeah.
And I felt so bad and so fake, and it was so against everything that I was. And it's not that I'm not a pleasant person or a happy person to be around, but like to do the job, I have to be sickeningly sweet. And it really hurts I would get jitters and like things I was developing like
a tick maybe.
Yeah, like tics. I was developing like I'd say something to somebody and go and just shit and nobody could see that, but well, here soon you'll be able to see that. But just like develop these weird shivers, and it would just like do these weird things, and it was getting to the point that I was like, this is not so healthy. This is becoming a problem.
I understand.
Well,
that's all right. So
nothing against my job
here's,
that I had. I really appreciate everything that I got there. It just became not for me.
This is a good segue, I guess, into Cody fact number 1 for the podcast. So I think that maybe one reason why I'm able to do that is because the way that autism works is you kind of have to mask yourself anyway. So it's like one performance is the same as another, I think. So maybe that's like a resistance I have to doing that.
I would love to hear the end result, because that like in a couple months from now, I want to hear you say the same thing. Honestly, that's what I want, man. But I'm just saying that like after me doing it for so long, I was like I felt like a demon was taking over me. Like that's kind of what it felt like. It like something was taking me over and it was starting to become me, and I didn't like that. So Anyways.
Typical. People get a little afraid of demonic possession.
Demonic possession.
Maybe explain a little bit, Cody, about what it is that you do for a living.
Well, so I work in healthcare, which is the most stressful part of on the phone things. Healthcare has gotten a little more complicated over the last couple of years, if anybody's not noticed.
Yeah, I could imagine so.
But even better, I work the front line, so to speak, because I work internal medicine, which is like if you when I used to clean out the pool for my grandparents, and I kind of stuck down the net into the water, and then you just kind of catch everything. That's sort of like what internal medicine is.
Gotcha.
Well, it's like people will call me for all these different strange things that don't even really fall into my, I couldn't say like, well, that's not my job. I'm not supposed to know about that. But I'm kind of like the information desk as well as taking care of like general needs.
Yeah, he's kind of like when he says front lines, like that's what he means. Like literally, like first person you hit.
Right. They're like, call your family doctor. So that's who they hit up.
That's Cody.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so basically you're like sort of like the middleman.
Yeah, basically.
In a sense.
Yeah.
So
a lot of the difficulty of my job is taking what people say it and then figuring out how I'm supposed to say it, because it's often a lot different.
Yeah. I guess when you work in that sort of job, people will tell you what they need, but you're trying to convert it into...
You have to interpret it.
Yeah.
Right.
You're trying to convert it into what you can realistically do.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And if you can't do nothing, that's what gets 10 times worse.
What really gets me, and I don't want to talk about work too much, but what really gets me is when people say like, come on, it'll take 5 minutes. And I'm like, it really doesn't. It takes quite a lot longer than you think. Like I've had to call, like some people are like, well, can you not just call the pharmacy for me? Can you just resolve this in like 5 minutes? I'm like, no, because I've had to do that before, and it usually takes about like 15, 20 minutes, to make sure everybody knows what's going on. So anyway.
Well, if they needed something done at the pharmacy, they need to call the pharmacy.
That would be great. That would be great.
So rule of thumb for just any normal person, there are going to be times when you get that customer service representative that is absolutely terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And they deserve a cussing. They deserve everything, every stress that you've ever had. But the majority of the time, I promise, they are trying to get you off that phone.
Mm-hmm.
They want on to the next person. So they would like to help you as quickly as possible and as pleasantly as possible.
That's right. Don't be vague or be weird about it. Like I've had the same questions asked so many weird ways.
You could say one sentence to me, and if I don't understand, and pardon them if they don't understand, because remember, they're trying to convert it into what they can do. But also, too, if they ask questions, answer those.
Right.
But you don't have to elaborate about everything you did yesterday.
Oh, God, please don't.
You don't have to go through all that.
I had to take my dog up to the veterinary store.
So we would love to be able to do that with every single person, but you gotta understand that it's like there's a job that has to be done, and we can do it pleasantly. It's not an all day thing. It doesn't need to be an all day thing, but yeah, it's much needed. So what you're doing is more than probably you signed up for, I promise.
Now, so both of you have obviously worked or is currently still working in the customer service, like call center sort of field. So, but I would imagine that in your field, Blakely, when you were doing insurance, I don't know, I feel like you would probably have more unruly customers than Cody would, I would say.
Well, it has to do with also, too, Cody's there to inevitably help them.
Right.
I'm there to help people, but
the insurance is seen as the enemy, sort of.
And it's not that it's necessarily always the enemy, but there are certain situations where when you call in to those places, they can't help you. There's things they can't do.
Yeah.
And when it comes to, your medical care and how you schedule that and things like that, you can obviously be seen by any doctor. Mm-hmm. Cody's going to be able to help you with that. You may not like when,
Right. A lot of it's up to the person that's calling, like, are you okay to do this or this? And then
Yeah,
that gets
Cody
easier.
ultimately can help you.
Yeah.
He can ultimately. There were situations I was in where you can't help that person and you feel guilty. Sometimes depending on what the situation is.
I could see where you'd have a lot more burnout then in that case. 'Cause
Yeah,
that's pretty
If
awful.
you ultimately can't resolve every call you get, you eventually start to go, then why the hell am I here?
Love that. Love that one call resolution, baby.
Yeah.
That's
Well, and I
maybe
was
with
pretty
the,
good at it too, which was that was a perk of working that job, is I was pretty good at getting done whatever someone needed.
You know what? Well, one thing I really appreciate about what you guys are doing in that field is like, man, I cannot tell you how frustrating it is when I have a problem with something, from whatever business it may be, and I'm trying to call customer service. And it's almost everything is automated now.
That's for sure.
Yeah, it's like you have to either they don't have a real person to talk to, or you have to go through like 10 steps from the automated voice to actually get an actual. Can we please just get some real people? Like,
Yeah,
this is ridiculous. It's not solving my problem. Like,
well, they want it. There are situations those automations can help, but I think you're right. I think. In the customer service world, or just service world in general, if you made it simpler, it would be that much simpler.
Yeah.
You should they do things like this because they want to cut down on call volume, but at the same time, if someone knows they need a customer service representative, just go ahead and give them the option.
right,
Just
exactly.
go ahead and
right.
give them
Yeah.
option, get them in, get them helped,
Right.
and finish it out. But it was kind of like my mom was having an issue with her online account through Wake Forest, which was nothing against them. It's just my mom has vision issues, and she hasn't seen a Wake Forest doctor, which I guess is now it's not Wake Forest anymore, is it?
Well, officially it's Atrium Health, Wake
Atrium.
Forest
Okay.
Baptist.
Okay, so it's Atrium. So, but she hadn't had a doctor through Atrium for a long time. It was all through either Duke or Forsyth, and which is now
Novant.
Novant. So, but anyway, so she hadn't logged into that account in a long time, and she wasn't getting any of her notifications. She wasn't getting any of her mail. They had a really old address for us, really old phone number, all that stuff. So
Which is part of what I do to make sure that you don't.
well, I'll tell you this, Cody. We did update that stuff at the office.
Oh, yeah?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
well-
I filled out paperwork, bro.
So here's the salt. I'm about to spread it. I'm about to sow it. But a lot of those people up at the front desk, they don't do their stuff. And that's why I have to be so strict when I do my things.
Yeah, the questions were asked, and I filled out paperwork. If this tells you anything, so I knew they had the right information. They just weren't sending it. So she's trying to log into her online account, and they've got all this old information, so she can't verify nothing.
Yeah.
But she didn't know that. So she tries to call, and she has a time rolling through every automated round, like trying to get to where she needs to get to, and she just needs some tech support is what she needs. And I remember she's like, "Can you ask Cody to call me or text?" And finally I did, and Cody was like, "Oh, I just had to give her a phone number." And I was just like, it was that easy, wasn't it?
Yep.
Like, it was that easy. But instead, she had to roll through 1,000,001 phone thing. And I know they do that just to, because like, especially with like COVID now, there's all that stuff that even Cody has to spout out every call.
Right.
But, even if you just need to know what that office's, restrictions are. Can I wear a mask? Can I not wear a mask? What do I need to do? How many people can show up? It's all in those automated systems. So if they are listening, it does help them, and then it doesn't have to go to a person.
Well, a
That's
common
the
complaint
help.
I get with like reminder calls is that it includes all that information, but I guess they didn't increase the recording long enough because it doesn't like give you the rest of the information. Like your appointment's going to be at this and this at that time. So people are like, well, I just heard the COVID information.
No, that's not what they do, because I get those too.
Yeah.
Because I get them for my mother, and they talk about how you can only bring one person unless it's a child. You can bring two people.
Right.
And then please wear a mask in the office.
Yes.
And I think that's about it, really.
Yeah.
That's about
but,
it.
But then again, a lot of the people that write the script for me don't ever have to say it, and they don't realize how long it is.
Exactly. and we got to the
What am I,
point too-
Leonardo DiCaprio? No.
we
I
got
wish.
to the point where it was like some of the stuff, like we used to read what they call a statement of no loss, which is just a legal document stating you've had no accidents, but it's super long. So they got to the point to where you can just click a button while you were during the call, so you could just autoplay it, and that was so much easier.
Oh man, I bet that was good.
Oh, okay. 1 second. Okay, we're good.
We're still alive.
Sorry, it was. I swear I told this monitor not to do that, so I'll just keep moving my mouse the whole entire podcast.
Well, I'll use this as a segue to say, let's talk about something other than work.
Yeah, we can talk about something other than work.
Well, so when I put you down as a guest, like in the Facebook group, because I listed all of our upcoming guests. You're one of kind of the only guests that I was trying to think what is Cody's thing, like
Right.
and
Cody does so many things.
Yeah, so I put
That's
what
down. Cody's been wondering too, actually.
So I put down hobbyist as sort of like your niche, right? So, but I know that you're really into like collecting like little action figures and kind of modifying them to your own liking. So I guess tell us a little bit about that. We
need to know about the Kit Bash.
All right, well, I can definitely talk about that. So I guess I've always enjoyed action figures for as long as I remember. In fact, I have pretty much every action figure I've ever had. Like all of my childhood action figures are.
If it ain't broke, he's probably got it.
Well, that's right. And if it is broke, I still probably have it.
Yeah.
But
or somehow got lost in the pool house or something like that.
right. I've sold very rarely some of the ones that I've had, and I could probably tell you which ones they were. But anyway, the Wolverine Jeep from Tyco Toys, these small soldiers. It's got Ocula from the movie on it, and it
You
had
remember
like
Small Soldiers?
Oh yeah, it was crazy.
I think so.
Well, I know you do.
Well,
but-
right.
Okay, so Small Soldier, I think it came out in the early 2000s, late 90s.
I think it was 2000
Let
exactly,
me
or
look
maybe
up
1999.
Small
Wait, are you talking about
Soldiers.
the movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I
It
do
was
remember that.
98.
Tommy
Yeah.
Lee Jones. It was one of the last performances
Gregory
of Phil
Smith, Tommy
Hartman.
Lee Jones, Kirsten Dunst was in it.
Yeah, that's right.
David Cross.
I forgot David
Dennis
Cross was in
Leary.
it. David Cross played one of the toy designer people. By
Yeah.
the way, I don't know if you'll hear this, but David Cross, one of my least favorite comedians of all time. I just think he looks like a big prig.
Hey,
I mean, that's what he gets paid to do, I'm
I-
sure. But
I- I like him in movies. I'll be honest with you. I don't particularly like his like stand up and stuff
yeah,
like
no,
that.
no.
He gets on my nerves. But when he's in movies, I typically like him.
Yeah, he was pretty good in this movie. I agree.
Yeah, I wish I could show you this, Nick. This
Yeah.
is my plan. We're in a new podcast room, by the way.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is hopefully going to be nice. But hopefully, I can stick a TV somewhere where people can like see what I'm doing, like so you can actually see what small soldiers look like. It was the action figures that like came to life and had a war or whatever. Yeah.
It had Ernest Borgnine in it. It had a bunch of like these old commando like dudes voicing all the toys. So it was pretty neat.
There's so many. And which toy was it? I'm just curious.
So it's a tank that had Ocula on it, which is one of the Gorgonites. But it has a buzzsaw in the front of it. It was metal as hell. I love that thing.
Ocula was the eye guy. Right?
Yes, right.
There we go.
But yeah, it's like the Ocula battle tank or something like that. I forget, but I don't remember why I sold it. I think it was just because it was very big. But yeah, I know it was totally cool. Love it.
Yeah, for the most part, Cody. I mean, like he's pulled up some stuff. He's like, remember this, and I'm like, whoa. Like,
I feel like I'm the giver from that book where I'm like, remember this memory, or like I have to carry the memory of all toys forever.
yeah.
But anyway,
That's a good way to look at it. Actually,
I guess more of what I do. So what I do is I got into both customizing action figures and painting them because I had seen guys online do it. Honestly, I don't remember what started it for me, but I probably just saw something. I was like, wait, what's this? And somebody's like, oh, it's been customized. I'm like, well, hell, I could do that. I remember that I have customized figures when I was a kid. Like, I learned how to unscrew them and repair them, and then I swapped a couple of parts, and I was like, yeah, I'll call that good. But no, it's really fun. I really enjoy doing it. It takes a couple of hours to do like a piece, but I mean, it's nice to sit down and do something, and then you have a cool product at the end. But anyway,
If you had to guess, how many figures do you think you have altogether?
oh man, that's a pretty good question.
Yeah, because I would highly doubt you had an accurate number.
Not at all. I would say is probably approaching. I would say we're probably around 1,000, honestly, if I had to guess.
Holy damn! I didn't even
1,000
know it was
figures.
that much.
We should count one time.
Yeah, we need to count.
Got a whole Saturday?
I know he's got a bunch, but I didn't know we were approaching 1,000.
I would say
he also has just parts too.
right, exactly.
He collects parts.
I have a box full of parts that I will someday use, I'm sure, or I'll inflict it upon somebody else. I'm like, you have to use these now, because that's what happened to me actually. If I can plug somebody that I think is really cool. I got my initial big lot of parts. I've had several other lots in the past, but what really started from me was this guy who goes by Boil and Pop, which is
Shout out Boil and Pop.
right. It's a method by which you boil an action figure that doesn't have a screw hole, so you can remove parts from it.
Oh shit! Boil and Pop's not a guy.
No, but it is his handle. He goes by
okay.
Boil and Pop on Instagram and Facebook. But anyway, I bought a lot of parts from him at what I thought was a lot of money, but is now really not that bad. But he was like, I hope you don't regret this. And I was like, I don't think I'm going to. And then 2 years later, I'm like, I feel like I regretted buying all those parts at once. But anyway, no, that definitely allowed me to get started doing things. And I forget.
Not necessarily be scared to do it because you've got so many parts to go through.
Right. And now there was lots of new combinations I was able to try out. And that's something I try to encourage to people. If they want to do that sort of thing, like just start mixing and matching stuff. Or if you don't want to do all that, just do a repaint of like an already existing figure, because those have been very fun, I think. I've done a couple of those and they turned out well.
There's one right there on the shelf, right?
Yeah,
well, that's right.
Cody Custom. I'm going to put this in the... I'll put this in the podcast, but we have a Cody Custom where he put this guy together, and he painted our band logo on the front of him, and he's a Mohawk guy.
I'm still amazed I was able to do that, honestly.
Yeah, it's badass. It's badass, and he's back on our back shelf, so he'll make it into many a podcast
and
once we get video up.
See, that's the good thing is like I guess that was 2020 probably.
Yeah,
and like I can do so much more now than that there.
Yeah, if there is an example, Nick, of practice making perfect, Cody, when he started, he wasn't bad, but like just every figure he brings me, I'm just like, it's just getting even more insane. Like, and it's mostly just the quality of what he's putting out. Like this is cool, but then he'll like bring me stuff, and I'm like, oh, you kit bash this, and he's just like, yeah, I painted it, I did, and I'm just like, it doesn't look like you did, just because it looks like it just came out of like a pack. It just came out of the packaging or something.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
You're getting what, but we talk about this as musicians. Like, how many times do you tell students to practice?
Oh, man.
And that it will help. You say it all the time. And it's like that with anything.
For
and
sure.
if there is a definition of that, when would you say that you started like officially doing this stuff?
So I think the first time I painted anything was probably in 2019.
So it's just been a couple years that he's been like
I was thinking
refinishing.
a little longer than that, but
I think he's been putting stuff together, but like refinishing has been the new thing.
I started getting into G.I. Joe again probably. Well, okay, so I'll kind of gloss over it. So G.I. Joe, the classic vintage line, ended in 1994. So when I was born, there wasn't really anything around. But that means I can talk about my favorite toys, which are the Core from Lennard.
That's the ones we played with.
They're not the they're not the Corpse. They're not Lannard toys. It's the Core by Lennard Toys. I almost said it. Okay, but anyway, so like 1998. I remember I have on video me at a birthday party getting some of those and some X-Men toys because I was real big into X-Men at the time. But anyway, so I played with a lot of those. I had a couple of G.I. Joe sets. Then G.I. Joe versus Cobra, which was like early 2000s, like 2000, 2001. I had a few of those. Then Valor versus Venom came out, and Spy Troops, which were kind of the more modern styling. They weren't like the vintage figures anymore, but they still had O-rings, which I like. Honestly, if a figure has an O-ring, which is it's a plumber's tool basically, but it's what holds the Well, it's the T hook.
Connects like the waist.
Right. So there's a T hook that has two balls, and that, are that go into holes in the legs, and then the hook extends into the waist. You put the O-ring around the hook, and then you place the waist over, the rings and such, and then you stretch the ring up into the chest. Then you close it all with a screw. And then that's how it holds together.
So it basically gives the toy the ability to move its waist.
Right, exactly.
But it's all done with an O-ring, which
I never knew that this much work went into action figures.
It really does. It's very fascinating.
Because someone had to design that, and I guess they were just like, well, we'll put these... See, I used O-rings when I was doing a lot of the vape mod stuff.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I remember I gave a bunch of O-rings to Cody at some point, but... You probably found a lot better ones than what I had.
The ideal ones to use is a number 41 plumber's O-ring. That is, it's really thin. That's another thing. The first G.I. Joes from 1982, 1983, because they re-released the 82s and 83. But anyway, so the 41 O-ring is thin enough that you can pretty much fit into any torso. Another fun question is people are like, what kind of screws do I use in? And I'm like, I try to use whatever was in them before because I know that worked. Unless it's like crusted and rusted, I try to put it back in there where it was. But anyway,
salvage old screws if you can.
Back to my story, I guess. So I was really into Valor versus Venom, which was, probably aimed at kids like me because I was like 12, 14 or something. That was, it was fun. And then after 2007, they started kind of like doing this 25th anniversary collection where they brought back classic characters in a new 4-inch sort of style. I really don't like those at all. I can't get past them. What really frustrates me is that they take a lot of non-removable accessories from the vintage figures, and then they make them removable on the newer ones. I'm like, no, why? Like, okay, so the one that I'm thinking of is Sneak Peek. Shout out to my boy Sneaky P. But he has like a vest thing on in the vintage figure, but that's just his whole torso. But in the modern figure, it's got a vest that you like have to push a little button through a hole, and like it's so small that you can't really precisely do it, and it kind of just sort of bulges out, and then eventually it'll fall off, and it's just really frustrating.
Just a bad design.
Fun fact about Sneak Peek, because I can talk about him for a while. Stephen King's son Owen was a real big fan of G.I. Joe, so I guess they got Steven to work on some stuff. He made one of the villains, Crystal Ball, who came out in 1987. He was like this hypnotist, seventh son of a seventh son sort of thing.
That sounds like Steven.
and he looks like Vincent Price, which is pretty funny too. But so since Owen loved the toys so much, I guess they just decided to put in him. But Sneak Peek's real name is Owen King.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
A lot of people don't really like him because he's like kind of dumpy, and I'm like, well, so am I. Whatever. I don't really
I'm a little
care
dumpy
about
too.
it. I mean, it's not like everybody can look like Outback or Duke or Snake Eyes or something. I'm like, no, I'm Sneak Peek. That's cool. But anyway, so then I got back into buying G.I. Joe more often, like in 2014, because I remember we were in the vape shop, and I was like cruising on eBay, and I was like going to toy stores that were around, but I should have bought more then because they're a lot cheaper than they are now. That's for fucking sure.
Well, so I used to go to a vape store, and there was like I guess a collector's shop next door, and he kept a lot of G.I. Joes.
Right.
So Cody would just walk over there while I was in the vape store.
It was pretty nice. But
that was back when you went to a vape store and hung out like it was like a bar.
Right.
It was like a bar at that point.
It was a new thing at that time.
Yeah, it was a whole new thing, and now it's completely gone.
Yo, I'll take a shot of vape, please.
That's right.
Now they want you. Well, I mean, they had testers.
I mean,
your friends hung out
that.
in there. And that was a hobby in itself too. So, but I used to go up there and hang out, or needed to go to get parts or juice or coils or something, and Cody would just ride with me, walk over there, and come back over and hang out.
Yep. It was pretty fun. I liked it a lot.
I miss those days.
When you get into your modifications of these action figures, so what's more enjoyable to you, the kind of putting new parts on the thing, or paint, or like actually doing some painting?
Let's see.
Like the combination, like putting the combination of parts together, or the actual. So I guess like pre-design versus like finished.
Oh yeah,
design.
no. I was just trying to decide. Honestly, I feel like I'm very much an ideas person. So when I put together like a whip a work in progress, so to speak. I'm like, yeah, but then like actually, it's kind of like that one little Tumblr post about like me sowing, yeah, me reaping, oh man, oh no. So that's kind of how it feels.
I bet it's difficult to paint, like especially the small figures like that one on the shelf. I bet it's difficult to actually like paint.
Oh yeah,
or
When he
add
does-
little details.
He
to, like,
does
the eyes
all
or something.
grades of shit. Tell him what you did to that beret you gave that guy.
oh yeah, that's too. Okay,
Talk about that.
So this was really cool. I got inspired by there's a website. It's called joecustoms.com. There's
Shout out.
there's archives going back to probably like 2000 thereabouts.
Holy damn.
But I looked at all 700 and some pages of customs, except for Snake Eyes. I skipped all the Snake Eyes because I don't really give a shit about him. But well, because he's a guy wearing a
ain't no
black
different.
suit. Like the only Snake Eyes I like is from a guy named Jogan Warrior. And it
Shout out.
is
So many shout outs.
Cody's got a community, man.
His name is Jonah Hardenbrook, and he's a real cool guy. He doesn't mind me like sort of copying some of his ideas, but anyway, he made this Snake Eyes that has like a head on it that's got like a visor sort of thing, like think kind of LeVar Burton from Star Trek almost. But he's like, this is laser wave Snake Eyes. I'm like, this is badass. And he's like holding a cheese sword thing. Looks great. But anyway, what was I talking about? So I looked through all of the pages of Joe Customs just to see what had gone on before. Like, it's kind of like, this is real nerdy.
Seeing what your forefathers had done in history.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. This is nerdy. Like, it's kind of like if Luke got to go to the library of the Jedi or something.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I just looked at everything. And I was like, okay, I see some things that are real inspiring. But anyway, so more to the point, I saw this. Somebody had done Sergeant Stalker, who is one of the more principal characters of the franchise. He's an African American. He's sort of like the XO, basically. Executive officer, sort of.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he has a cool beret on. That's like his signature. And there was another black character in the series called Heavy Duty. So Heavy Duty has a pretty good face sculpt because he came out later in the line when they knew what they were doing. So I sanded off Heavy Duty's hat, and then I took.
He just sanded the top of his head off.
Right. So we took him to a. Well, I tried to Dremel at first, but that was too slow. So then we turned on the. It's like
a belt sander.
Yeah, well, we did the belt sander, but we also did like this circular sort of polisher thing.
Oh, was it just a wheel?
Yeah,
Like
it's sort
a
of like a
polish
wheel,
wheel?
just going real high speeds and all. But
Okay.
yeah,
was it like a grinder wheel? Like
Yeah. Okay, there you
okay.
go, grinder wheel. So we ground off the hat, and then I took a dial tone, who is the communication specialist. He's got a beret on. And so then we hit him on the wheel, but we just like obliterated his head up until he was just a beret piece.
So just completely sanded this guy's face off, and the other guy's the top of his head off.
Exactly. So then I took green stuff, which is a 2-part epoxy putty. Basically, you just cut off equal amounts of each material, and then you mix it together. And then once you put it, it's a hardening sort of epoxy, basically. But like, all right, so I kind of put the dial tone beret on. It wasn't very even, but I sculpted in what was missing. So then that way I created a sort of convincing front for the head. Like I sculpted parts of the head that I had sanded off. Right. And so I had a bunch of epoxy on the outside, but I was real clever, and parts of it I painted like the beret, so it looked like more like the beret, and then some of it I like painted into hair or something. But yeah, it was pretty
Yeah,
fun.
and then when you see it, it doesn't. You can't tell. You can't tell at all.
But somebody had done that on Joe Customs, and I was like, "That's cool. I'm going to do that." And I don't know, it's real fun.
So did you think of, like when you saw it? Did you think about it, or did it have an explanation as to how he did?
He did say that he did do it, and I was like, "Yeah, I can do that."
Okay, so he was
we
basically
did.
saying like, I just shaved off this dude's face and this dude's hat.
Oh yeah, like all of my favorite ones, I tried to read all the descriptions of them. I mostly turned the thumbnail images on so I could just kind of see most of them. But if something was interesting, I go and look at it. But yeah, I love reading about people's methods, and it was like, okay, so I did this and this and this. So anyway, that's my favorite.
Do you now when say because you say you have 1,000 figures, or,
That's
roughly.
close.
So obviously I don't think that you display all of them, but like,
Jesus
do you
Christ,
do you
I
have
wish.
like any kind of display case or shelf, or like ones that you're like really proud of?
So I do actually. So I have a little bookshelf in the guest room, and that's where I display a lot of things that I have. So I've got a couple of shelves dedicated to the Fate Stay Night franchise. So I've got all that sorted out. Then I think
That's a different collector.
Right.
collector's
I
item.
collect a lot of expensive things. But anyway, so then I have a shelf where it's mostly all of my rare action figures, a lot of my foreign variants, things that are just normally expensive. I've got a couple of carded figures that I display there. But yeah, no, I do have a dedicated space for those, thankfully.
Oh,
do
cool.
do your kit batch stuff go on that too, or is this just like the high dollar?
Yeah, this is like the high dollar, like your Tiger Force Outbacks, your
This is the collector stuff.
right, exactly. The ones where each figure may be about $100 on average.
Yeah. And just to think about that's a great question. Just to think about what your collection is worth.
I don't think that's fun to think about at all, actually.
And we still have the boat, right?
Yes.
We still have the boat.
Oh,
We
yeah,
should talk
that's
about
right.
the boat.
Okay, let's talk about the boat. So, in 1985, you can double check me real quick there, but
What's the boat called?
it's the USS Flag. But I'm fairly sure it was 1985 because Shipwreck was on it. I think it is a real ship. But no, the USS Flag is the largest playset ever produced. It's 7.5 feet long. And I decided that I had to have one.
Yeah, and he is not kidding.
It's pretty cool though.
Wait, so you have a boat figure that's 7 feet? Is what you're saying?
Yeah,
Listen,
it's
I've got a picture of Cody laying beside it.
Oh my
right.
gosh, where do you put it? Where was it in a room or?
Funny you should ask, Nick. So no, so it was real fun. Back in November 2020, I think it was, me and Austin went out to meet a guy at a local store, and a lot of people talk about like, oh, I went like 3 hours to go pick one up because it's like a journey that people go on. But anyway,
We went to Sheets.
yeah, we went to Sheets. We went to a
It
Sheets
is
like 10 minutes.
It is over 7.5 feet. It is
Oh,
7 feet. Well, no, it's 7.5. Sorry, 7'6".
I mean, it's still pretty
So,
freaking big. So
Based off the USS Nimitz.
yes, the
Is that how you
USS
say it?
Nimitz,
Nimitz?
Charles Nimitz. He was the
big-ass
naval
aircraft.
director. I forget under who, though. I think that might have been during World War II. But anyway,
Admiral Keel.
you're Admiral Keelhaul. He
Yeah.
was.
So
I
it
don't
was
remember
bundled
what
with
his
that
file
figure.
name is.
Okay, so it retailed for $109.99, the largest playset aimed at boys existing at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess there
I
could
think it's
be
still
a bigger,
ever, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I'm looking at Wikipedia, so I don't know how credible this is. But at the same time, I can vouch. It is every bit of 7.5
Oh,
feet.
yeah.
It's so cool.
It is
though.
humongous.
Lots of action features, sturdy construction for rugged play. That's a little thing that they put on the box.
When you when you went to get it from the guy, now did you have to assemble it?
We
yes,
took
yes.
the truck.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We took the truck.
we piled a bunch of stuff inside the cabs because I didn't want it to like blow
Yeah,
away.
there was like 3 boxes full of parts,
Okay.
and then we had the base of the boat.
right.
Because the boat, I think, was in three parts.
Uh,
So like, there's the top, and then there was like 2 pieces of the
Yes.
bottom.
So there's like the galley, I guess you would call it. I don't really know, but like the parts where people walk on and live in.
Yeah.
Then the flight deck is separated into, hold on, I think
4?
it's 4 pieces.
4 pieces?
Yes. And then,
So it deconstructs, which is nice, but at
Right.
the same time, it is substantial.
there's no bottom to it. It's just more they sit on support struts, and there's a facade that you put on one side, and that it just kind of looks like it's a ship line. But it's pretty cool.
How long did it take you to put it together?
So I watched. I'm going to name drop somebody else here that I like, but I watched a video from Hooded Cobra Commander 788. He did
Shout out.
he did like a 30-minute video on how to assemble it. So I just kind of followed him along for the first assembly, and I was like, I think Austin was in the house, and I was like, I did it!
Yeah, Cody assembled it like in the driveway.
Yeah, I
He
had
assembled
to,
it in the.
I had
Where
to-
else are you gonna put it?
Yeah, I know.
well, it's just like a real ship. You have to build it in the dry dock and before you launch it
Yeah,
out.
before you launch it.
But anyway, so once I did
Anybody
that,
need water? We good?
Good
I'm
on you.
good.
Okay.
Thank you, though. The USS Flag needs water. I've seen where some people make them float. Like
I don't know
that's
how.
got to be really cool.
I
though.
have no idea how. It is humongous.
That's also got to be really stressful.
I'm gonna have to put that picture of you in the boat in there.
So this is not a buoyant ship.
No, not at all. None whatsoever.
This thing is so substantial for a toy, but at the same time, like it's so cool how oversized it is because you never. I would say that it is every bit. You know, it is almost if we were as big as the actual action figures, it is almost what would be life size for them.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah.
You know, they action figures may be a little oversized.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Just a little bit, but not much.
Yeah.
Like
So
they
it's pretty
almost
close.
made it life size to what the actual action figure would
This
be.
reminds me of y'all ever watch Stuart Little?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Of course.
There's the scene in the movie where they have the boat race.
Yeah.
And they're like, but they all like, it's like remote control boats, but they all
Right.
customize them. And
yeah. I've almost thought about like because Cody's got boats too that out, and he's a photographer too, so he's got boats that he's put in the water.
Love water. Honestly, it's my favorite. Photo
He'll go
opportunity.
play in the water, but at the same time, I've almost thought about it. It's like, what if we found a way to put a little motor on it
yeah.
and send it through and take pictures of that?
That'd be pretty cool, I
something.
think.
We'd probably need a drone too to take the
Yeah.
pictures. But
Yeah.
at the
I
same
would
time,
love to take some drone pictures. That sounds pretty cool, actually.
we need to figure out how to fly a drone.
I was doing like for one of my jingles that recently got hired for. It was at Break Time Billiards in Winston-Salem. Shout out. And
Break time.
I went outside to get a shot of the big logo on the outside of
he's
the
got
building.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was going to get a
can't
shot
miss
of it,
it.
and I'm standing there getting the shot, and I was like, "This would look so much better with a drone."
Yeah.
Yeah, like getting
peek
the
up.
shot from the top. So like, and both of you guys know, just talking about like your action figures, anything you do like this as a hobby or as a hustle
Couldn't be improved with a drone.
could be improved with a drone. Yes, but also it's an investment, right?
Right.
So
Yeah,
like
it's
I'm
an
learning
investment.
talking about photography, like I'm learning every single time I do a shoot, I'm like, okay, I need to buy this now because I didn't have it for this shoot.
Exactly.
And then same thing with the jingle thing, like, God, it would have been so nice to have a drone now. So, but maybe I'll look into that
Well,
and doing something.
it's good that you mentioned that about learning as you do, because I feel like that's how I've come so far. Like I've been telling people here recently, they're like, "This looks really good, Cody," and I'm like, "Thanks." I painted a lot of stinkers to get here.
Yeah.
yeah. And we've played a lot of rotten notes.
Yep,
You
I
know
understand.
that's the way it goes. But if you keep putting in the time and keep trucking at it, you can
That's for
can
sure.
do fucking anything at this point. Like,
Let's see.
hey, Elon Musk made a dick ship, and then who was it that flew up in it?
William Shatner? Or-
Nah.
no, it
Oh
wasn't.
yeah, William Shatner went up
Yeah,
there.
and,
But also too, like straight
Jeffrey Bezos.
Jeffrey
Was Jeff Bezos in?
Jeffrey
Yeah.
Bezos. No, that motherfucker straight up Dr. Evil.
Born in
I think so.
1964.
I mean, he's bald and everything.
Bezos,
Yeah,
Jeffrey Bezos.
that's what we were all think. We were just like, this is straight up Dr. Evil. He's just
$1 million.
$1 million.
$1 million.
he's got his pinky in his mouth, flying in the penis ship, and you can only imagine what it all looked like. But all we saw was the dick in the sky. But yeah, I think anybody can get there. It's just the time you put into it, and as long as you're learning something new each time you try.
I have to talk about some people that I've really been inspired by, I guess would be a nice thing to do. So I mainly post a lot of my work. Well, I guess I should talk about it.
His social media's moved because of it too.
Well,
we need to talk
this
on
is
that.
true. So my Instagram, which is at Core Commander Cody, which is CRPS, just in case. I'm sorry, that sounds really condescending.
PS.
But anyway, so it's at Core Commander Cody on Instagram. I started there back in like November 2019, I think. I had been posting stuff on a different account, and I was like, you know what? I don't want to subject people to this anymore, so I'm going to go post over here. And so I did, and I found a lot of people, about 2,000 worth of them, in fact, so far, which is pretty cool. I just recently had a giveaway, but I learned a lot from people on Instagram. I also post it's G.I. Joe ARAH, which is a real American hero, 1982 to 1994. It's a big Facebook group. It's got about 21,000 members in it.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I know, right? But I learned a lot from dudes in there. There's a couple of people on Instagram that I really liked. But yeah, there's a lot of, I don't know. I just learned from a lot of cool examples, and I don't know. I probably wouldn't be as good as
It's the way it goes these days.
If you have any interest in any of this stuff, there are groups out there. There are people doing this, and not just G.I. Joe stuff. People have been kit bashing forever.
That's true.
So if you've got some interest in it, I tell a lot of people, like, I saw a video the other day. Mm-hmm. This is a great example of it, but we talk about movies periodically on the podcast, and especially like 80s movies. Like, you just had to make shit.
I watched one yesterday.
Like, you just had to make shit. So there was a fella on it was some video I was watching on Facebook, and this guy was like, you know why this camera is such a collector? And the lady's like, nah, I don't really know, but it's pretty. And he goes, yeah, it's pretty. Actually, the body's worth nothing. And then he set it down and pulled the flash off of it, and then pulled the bulb off the top of the flash. Mm-hmm. And the stem of it, straight up, is the lightsaber handle that Obi-Wan pulls out and hands Luke at the beginning of the movie.
I think IG-88's head is a steam thing from a Rolls-Royce engine.
Probably.
I think that's right.
But it's lit. I mean, they painted it, but it's straight up. It's that lightsaber.
Yeah.
So that's why that camera is so valuable. Is really for the stem that holds the flash onto
that's
the
hilarious.
camera.
Yeah,
I love that.
But it's just stuff like that like you don't like. Okay, if you wanted it and it's $2,000 for you to purchase something, just try to make it.
Yeah.
Try.
Well, see,
give it a shot.
That's what started my whole customizing thing. So one of the most popular figures in the line is Outback from 1987. Outback is the survival expert. That's pretty evident by his name. But he has a
steakhouse.
That's right. I love their bloomin' onion. That's a fun joke that we always do on the G.I. Joe groups. But so Outback wears a white shirt that says survival on it because he's the survival instructor, and he's got these camo pants, and he's got an orange head with like this green bandana tying it all back, but he's got this cool beard and everything. So he's like machismo personified. But anyway, so Outback also came out the next year, 1988, as the Night Force Outback version. Night Force was an exclusive subset only to Toys R Us in 1988 and 89, but he was released in the first series. It was a repaint of mostly figures from 87 and 88. It was just cheap for them to do. So anyway, Night Force Outback, being rarer, is also more... He's number one, a figure that is highly sought after, and then number two, a figure that was not produced as much as some of the other ones. So everybody's like, I got to have a Night Force Outback. I think I have three. I
have three.
I have like a really good one that's all complete, and then I have like
that
a
one's
travel
on the shelf.
one. Right,
okay.
That one's on the shelf, and then I have one that I use for photos. And then I think I have another one that is actually shitty, but I really love it, so I don't do anything with it. But anyway, and one of my
sometimes you just love how vintage something is.
I mean,
like,
the Backyard Warriors are some of the best. I just love looking at all the different damage they have. It's great.
Not to get too off topic, but Cody had found, and he goes everywhere to look for these. But he had found, it was like some sort of space dude.
Yeah, Ozone.
No, I don't even know if it was a G.I. Joe, Cody.
Oh.
You had found some sort of space dude that you had another of, and I remember we compared them, but the one was so bleached from the sun, like it had been outside, but it was just too cool.
Right.
Like, and it's damaged.
It was Deep Six. That's right. It was Deep Six from G.I. Joe.
Okay, it was a G.I. Joe.
Yeah. So Deep Six is like this weird kind of like, I don't even know. I'm colorblind, so it was kind of like a weird bluish green sort of color.
Yeah,
but
you had. Did you have two of them, or maybe you showed me a picture? I can't remember.
Well, I think I might have just showed you a picture, but either way, then the other Deep Six that I found was tan so brown, and then like so
he was just outside and bleached, but it was so cool.
It was so cool. I mean, that's the one I photographed most of the time.
Yeah, but he was technically ruined, but you find that vintage shit was just like with guitars, man. Like,
Right.
we find guitars and sometimes they're cool because they're beat up.
But yeah, like this Deep Six, like he went from like a pasty dude with orange hair to like this tan dude with like yellow hair. Like it was
Completely
like
yellow hair. It
chick
was so
yellow
weird.
hair.
Well,
It was crazy.
Talk, like a perfect example would be your Washburn, right?
Oh,
the
yeah,
the
the
guitar
Washburn. Oh, my
that was
God.
used in like Devil Went Down to Georgia video, and like you've put, that guitar started out it was in a closet or something, and
That guitar, okay, so that guitar, it originally started out as Logan Allen's.
right,
As far as I know, on
it was
the
an
history.
Idol model.
Yeah, it's a Washburn Idol, and that guitar went to Sean for some reason, and Sean gutted it and tried to refinish it, and no offense, Sean, but like he didn't cover the frets when he painted the some. It was a matte black guitar originally, and so I think he was just trying to gloss it. That's all he was trying to do. So he had put like some shellac or something on it.
Yeah.
And like the frets were just like covered in it.
Yeah.
And it was just like he like basically plasticed the guitar. And it felt like a big piece of plastic. And and it got put in a closet. And I think for about 2 years I bugged him about it. I was going, "What are y'all doing with that guitar?" I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna do something with it. And finally, he's like, "Okay, realistically, I'm not gonna do anything with this. So here's a piece of wood." So it sat in my closet for another, I don't know, 3-4 years, and
Was it that long? Oh.
And now you know how he felt.
something like that. So that guitar I did not pull out until I was in my apartment.
Yeah, that's right.
And for some odd, I was just bored, I think, and I wanted to get it playing so bad. So I sanded it down and cleaned up the frets, cleaned up the fretboard, all that good stuff, and then I spray painted it black and stuck it back in the closet, and so it still was gutted. And then I joined Norm, and I needed a backup guitar, and so I was like, well, I'm just gonna buy like a cheap $20 bridge and find the cheapest pickup that I could find. And I've got a volume knob sitting in a bin somewhere. And I did have the tuners, the original tuners for that guitar. That was only piece of hardware I got. So, and I had an output jack. So basically I got a Invader Seymour Duncan neck pickup, which was not supposed to be a bridge pickup. It may have been the same. I don't know. I think you have that pickup now. I think I gave it to you for that blue guitar.
Oh, yeah.
But
that one was also kind of the same deal. It's not finished. It's just sitting in
just a project.
Yeah, it's just a project. Well, it's
that is.
If anybody's a Green Day fan, I tried to recreate his Billy Joe's
just
blue
make it.
Strat.
Just
make it.
It's kind of like what Blakely's talking about. But anyways.
Yeah, I'll circle back to it. So the first thing that I was going to do is I was going to make a Night Force Outback because I had some Outback parts, but I didn't have like money. So anyway.
You don't have money.
So I put his shirt together. I had his shirt in his arms, and then I put together, it was a Mercer waist, 1987. And then also from 1987 was Raptor. And it was funny as hell because Raptor has got claws on his feet because like look this shit up. He's an accountant who trains birds to attack. Yeah, no. So like he's two bad things. He's Cobra, but he's also an accountant. So that's doubly bad. But anyway, so Cobra from 1980, or sorry, Raptor from 87. But anyway, so
he's the guy with the bird?
Yeah.
Oh.
There he is, yeah.
But his feet have claws?
Yeah, his feet have little talons on them, but it's okay because I just kind of painted them all the same color. So.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Where he's kind of, it's like etched claws at the top. Yeah,
and he's got sculpted on feathers above his shoes too. So, but even so,
funny.
I still really loved what I came up with, and like I did it better next time. But like I still have that figure actually, so I don't want to get rid of it. Anyway, it's. Jealousy and a lack of money is what. No, I don't know about jealousy.
Well, that with that guitar, that's kind of what I did. Is like I wanted to put no money into it, but I needed something. Mm-hmm. So I basically just threw that thing together, and I remember I put 2 stickers on it originally.
Yeah,
and I put a cat under the bridge.
Oh yeah.
Because I thought that was funny. Like you couldn't really see it, but it was under the bridge. That's why I just a cat under the
And
bridge.
now it's just covered in stickers.
Yeah, and I had a like a sticker up at the top at the emblem, and now it is
Covered.
It's a
If anybody
mess.
wants to know what
It
this
is a
guitar
mess.
looks like, then go watch our video for our Devil Went Down to Georgia cover, because that's the video that Blakely plays it in.
I think it still had a single pickup in
Yeah.
that video, and now it's got 2 pickups, and they're drawn on. I've drawn on them with a paint pen. But that guitar has been through many renditions.
That's for sure.
It is. I'm surprised it's not destroyed. That's the guitar that I play the hardest, meaning I don't give a fuck what happens. If it falls, that guitar almost got auctioned off. Like
Oh, really?
we thought about auctioning it to get money for the album.
Oh, yeah.
And
We
glad
ended
you
up
didn't, though.
somehow just paying for it ourselves.
yeah, but I'm so surprised that guitar is still around and not destroyed. Now, if there's a guitar I want to make me look badass, that's the guitar. I wouldn't necessarily say it's like the best sounding guitar ever.
Yeah.
But it doesn't play bad.
No,
So
I mean, well, that's the thing. It's
what I did with $50 was perfectly fine.
Right.
It's the same thing. Like in Dos Enes, I use my red Strat all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And that was one that I like custom made. It was this like Squire Strat that had one of those fat headstocks on it. And I bought it from William
Fat
Peduto.
70s. I love that Fat 70s headstock.
And I
personally.
bought it from William Peduto. Shout out to William.
Yeah, William is awesome. Speaking of, to not get you too off track, William just did an awesome thing by raffling off a guitar.
Oh, cool.
For,
Did you notice that you were one number off from winning?
I had
I heard that.
I had number 54 and 55.
53,
There's
53 won.
53
Yeah.
won, and I showed interest in that guitar before he decided to raffle it. I kind of wanted it. I love Fiesta Red.
I was at, and what's funny about mine, I was number 35, so my numbers were
backwards.
It was backwards.
You fellas didn't have a chance.
Really didn't have a chance. But no, that was a cool thing for him to do, to just basically take this guitar. It was definitely a great guitar. When I talked to him about it, he said he originally was just going to give him the guitar. So this is a buddy of ours that I don't know his name, but he's in the
Christopher
in the group.
Joyner.
There you
I
go,
think was his
Christopher
name.
Joyner.
Yeah.
And he his house burnt down and he just lost everything, and it's just terrible. So William ended up just in the middle of the night decided that's what he was going to do. Instead of giving him the guitar, he was going to raffle it. And within a day we raised over $1,000.
Yeah.
I love to see that. That's nice.
Yeah, it worked out good. But yeah, shout out to William, awesome guy. If you need any gear, he can find it.
So I bought I same kind of the same situation. Actually, no, what it was is this is when I was like got real deep into teaching guitar again, and I needed a guitar that I could keep in standard tuning because most of my guitars are half step down. So he was selling this cheap Squire Strat, and I went and bought it from him. But I didn't love the neck, like it was a mahogany.
the wider?
I think it was a mahogany neck
or the
fretboard.
rosewood.
Rosewood, yeah.
Rosewood
I always
front,
get those
okay.
confused. And then the fat neck on it, or the fat headstock, and
Which I love. I love that style.
I think it would look cooler if the fretboard would have been like maple or something like that. But with the rosewood, I didn't like the way it looked. So
with Fenders, you tend to be more into maple.
yeah, and
I'm the exact opposite.
it had a this was a double humbucker situation when I first got it. So I wanted HSS as the setup that I wanted. So I took the neck off, bought this cheap Mexi neck from Lucas Fowler, who, shout out to him, has been on the pod before.
Nowadays, there ain't no such thing as a cheap Mexi neck anymore.
Yeah.
You will pay as much as you would for a Mexican made.
Yeah, he
Fender.
sold it to me for like $20.
Hell yeah, dude.
And then I went online and I bought a gold pick guard. And the finish on this guitar is like a gloss. I don't know how to word it. It's like a
candy apple.
Candy apple red, sort of with a gloss shine on it. And so I bought a
gold.
Red and
I
gold.
bought a gold pick guard,
Royal.
and changed the pickup configuration to humbucker and 2 single coils. And then what
Your
I did
dad
was
gave you the single coils, right?
yes.
Didn't he give those to you?
Yes, I have no idea what they are.
Yeah.
I don't know what the single or the humbucker is either. I know I got that from something. I got it from you. I don't know.
I don't know.
But
We've traded
but I
parts
know
and
it sounds
bits.
to me it sounds good, and at the time I was still working at a printing company, and we were apparently, now I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Doctor Sleep, but it's the sequel to The Shining.
I did read it at least.
Yeah, and so they were recreating the gold room. And for that movie, like from the original Shining, they had like the gold ballroom or whatever. Apparently, and I don't know how true this is, but apparently the company that I was working for, we had a bunch of gold reflective that we were having to cut out or whatever. Apparently, that was what was being used for the movie.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how much merit there is to that. I doubt any at all. But,
as far as you know, that's what you were told.
But I thought, man, this would look cool since I got this gold pick guard to put some of that gold reflective on the guitar. So I stole some of it from work, and
stealing from work.
I stole
Nick?
from work, and I put like 2 gold stripes on the front of the guitar, and then I tried to cut out a music note, like a quarter note, as best I could, and stuck it on there. And now it's been in that same configuration ever since. I use it mainly like to teach and to play Dos Enes gigs because I need a electric guitar that's in standard tuning. But it sounds great. It's a cheap little $100 guitar, but it sounds great and plays pretty good.
They'll bring me up on in some of those gigs, and that's the guitar I end up grabbing. It's always awesome.
Now, see, I didn't know all of that terminology, but I heard some things that I sympathize with, where it's like, well, I just had this on hand. I wanted to make this. There was something else.
Just grab what you have.
Honestly,
find it. Ask somebody. And that's probably, you've probably done that better than anyone. Is just you don't know where to get stuff, so you get involved with people who have done this for a while or know knowledge or have something to give you, whether it's knowledge or things.
And I'm sure y'all can agree with this, but one of the most fun things you can do is trade with somebody. You're like, okay, well, I want this and you want this, and so I don't know. It's real nice, and then you make a friend that you can trade with later and all of that. But anyway, Nick, do you have another question? Because I know you have the most to learn, I guess.
Yeah, Nick's got.
Well, you said when you do all these action figures, you modify them and then or paint them, whatever. I'm always seeing on Facebook, on Instagram, I'm seeing you post pictures of them all the time.
Right.
So you do like some photography now. Like when you take photos of them, are you doing it mostly on your phone?
Yes. That's a good point. I would really like to have a dedicated camera. I think that would be pretty fun. But yeah, most of the time I just take it on the iPhone. It's great.
Well, and anymore these days, I mean, and I've just seriously, got into photography like in a serious sense, back about a year or so ago. Right. And I'm like, man, I need to keep upgrading my camera and stuff like that. But the dumb thing is like some of these phones, man, are getting pretty good, and it's like
an iPhone can take an amazing picture.
Yeah.
I've and some of the stuff he does where I don't know if you do any editing after or what exactly. There's no editing.
No.
There have been some pictures where it's just like, okay, this is a picture of a figure, but there's been other pictures where you're just like, damn, like
I try to make that second kind more, but
well, but I mean, but think in reality, think about it. Like when you're taking pictures of a figurine, it's pretty hard to not make it look like a picture of a figurine.
Right.
It's pretty hard to do that. So then when you see some of them where there's like action shots or something going on, like you're just like, okay, there was a lot of effort put into just setting this up.
So I know a guy that definitely does a really good job at this. His name is Mate Mylar. It's MateMylar.
Shout out Mate Mylar.
So Mate Mylar is a fantastic photographist. Right. Anyway, you do a real good picture. But anyway, he does lots of fun things. Like he does recreations of shots from like the comic. Like, okay, there's a cool bit in one of the early G.I. Joe issues where Ace, the pilot of the Sky Striker, and Wild Weasel, the pilot of the Rattler, have this cool like aerial duel. And at the end of the comic, there's this bit like they've both fucked each other up to they can't fight each other anymore. So there's a point where they zip past each other and they both salute each other. And he recreated that picture, and it's just totally great. But anyway, so that's
and so that like iPhones and some of these new smartphones can take really good photos. But at the end of the day, there is still like an art to
Yes.
to taking a good photo. And like you were
Lighting is important.
lighting, or like you were talking about, like if you're doing action figures or things that you can move yourself, right? Like there's certain poses that look better than others, and as opposed to just kind of standing them there and making it look kind of dull. There's a certain art to it all.
I will say that sticky tack is definitely one of your friends if you want to pose action figures, because
sticky tack.
Because like the wind, I'm sure the wind can like kind of knock them over and stuff like that.
And then of course you can use the official G.I. Joe battle stands that were but anyway, sticky tack is great.
Battle stands.
I know there's a that's the official name for them, but anyway, I know there was a cool shot that I did where it was one of my favorite Cobra characters, who was Worms is his name, but it's like weapons ordnance rugged maintenance systems, something like that. But anyway,
I don't know how you remember that.
you'll have to double check me, but I'm fairly sure that's correct. But anyway, Worms is hopping out of his he's got like this propelled artillery. It's called the Maggot, which is another hilarious name. But anyway,
Worms hopping out of the Maggot.
so he's got his little hand on the cockpit as he's like kind of vaulting out, and I'm like, oh man, that's totally cool. And all I did was like put a little sticky tack on his arm, so he just sort of he's stucky tack. But anyway,
well, and Cody even goes into the point of like finding areas. He'll walk.
a bitch loves some areas.
Yeah, you should tell him about your adventure up to the river that you did with Todd. I think it was Todd. You was with Todd.
So
we won't say what Todd was doing.
Right. So Mom's friend Todd, he wanted to come fish, and so I was like, okay, cool. So we'll go to a lake, and I was just taking some pictures. I brought some dudes along with me. He was doing his thing. And I went up, so the lake waters had receded because I think this was like late September, and I was like, "Oh, cool! I can get closer to the lake. So I was walking on the lake bed that had receded. So there was a couple rocks in there, but then of course it got softer and softer, and I'm in these like little sandals. It's the same ones I wore today, and the only reason I still have them, but I get ahead of myself. So I sunk both of my feet somehow into the mud, and I was totally stuck in there. And I was like, well, I don't think I'm going to die here, but I'm going to be very inconvenienced.
Remember when your parents warned you about quicksand and all them cartoons warned you about quicksand?
I never thought I'd have to deal with it, and then I finally had to deal with it. So, and I was like, there's people on the internet that like this, but I don't understand. So anyway, I got one of my feet out. I just had to kind of like grip my sandal as hard as I possibly could. And I just somehow yanked it out. I think I got it like close up to the surface, and then I had to sort of pull it out, but it was totally full of mud. It was like 5 times as heavy as it would have been normally. And then my other foot is still in there. And bravely, I decided to let go of the sandal so I could remove my foot so I could stand up on a piece of rock that was thankfully in the mud. And so I'm holding like, okay, so I think I put my sandal like on part of the bank so it doesn't sink. And then I've got one hand like not dirty so I can use my phone if necessary. And I'm digging it out with my other hand. I'm just like shoveling it.
Shoveling mud.
I remember when it happened to me, I just took a picture and sent it to my mom. I'm like, well, this stinks. I was like, this is a Kodak moment right here.
What a shitty situation this is.
That's exactly right. So then I finally got to dig it out of there. I never thought I would see it again, honestly. It was very strange.
And you still have those sandals.
Yeah,
that's right.
He was wearing them.
I was
downstairs
wearing them
now.
But so yeah, then after that, I was trying to walk down the hill to get back to where Todd was.
There's no point in putting all the sandals.
Oh no! Like I tried to wash them off or try to get some of the mud off, but the mud was so slick, I was like sliding around, and then I just kind of held them in my hand, and I was gripping this chain link fence all the way down, and then I finally kind of dunked them and got them all the mud off. But that was a very unique experience.
Things you go through.
I go the mile for the photos. I think.
Well, it's worth it. Everyone needs to go check them out because you do some insane stuff.
Everybody needs to be a little unhinged sometimes. I think.
Just a little bit.
Well, so I guess maybe speaking of being photogenic, you are also very much into cosplay.
This is true.
Right?
I do like cosplay.
He likes taking photos. He likes pictures taken of him too.
Oh, this is also true. I mean, it's nice. I've always enjoyed anime, obviously, if you couldn't tell by looking at me. But anyway, so I've always enjoyed anime. And my first con was in 20, I think this was 10, maybe. I can't remember if it was 2010 or 2011. But anyway, so I went to Animazement, which is in Raleigh, which I'm preparing to do here in a little bit. By the next episode, that's what I'll be doing.
That's what we'll be doing.
But anyway, so Animazement in Raleigh was a great first experience. Something funny, which nobody here will get, but maybe somebody listening. I remember when I went to Animazement, I was like, okay, there's three things that I like. I like Dragon Ball Z, I like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and I like Fist of the North Star. And I was like, okay, I'm going to ask about some of this merchandise here. And nobody knew what JoJo's Bizarre Adventure was. I was like, that's fine. It came out in the 80s. It's still going on at that point. But anyway, so what was funny is in like a couple years later, the JoJo anime comes out and it just fucking explodes. And now you can't like go anywhere without saying somebody like, please watch JoJo because it's really good. And it is. But it's just so funny that one of my cons I went to, nobody knew what it was. And then suddenly everybody knew what it was.
Yeah.
That's how I know I'm old.
You run into those situations.
Oh, God. Now think about it. But anyway, so.
It sucks when you think that it's like it's sacred to you, right? Like something
Right.
that and then all of a sudden something happens. It's I don't know, maybe a similar thing with like Motley Crue. Like, obviously Motley Crue was already a big band, but a few years ago they released their movie The Dirt. So like me,
okay.
I like in my circle of people,
We
I'm
all know
like
who
the
Motley
big
is.
Motley Crue fan, right? And then that movie comes out, and now everybody, like my girlfriend at the time, was like, "Oh my God, I really like this band now." I'm like,
Right.
Jesus.
Thanks, Machine Gun.
Yeah.
But
Well, I have an example. When Naruto started airing on TV, I was like, I think I'm done with this, actually.
I never got into Naruto.
No,
I'm glad
it's
I didn't.
okay. It was kind of misogynistic because
Okay.
all the female characters didn't really do anything, and like I don't know, it's really funny. Shonen manga writers like they know how to do good romance, but they don't give it to like the male and female characters they want to pair up. They just end up putting it between the two protagonists instead.
Of course.
But anyway, it's just funny.
But so, what do you when you cosplay? What are some of your most like the ones that you like dressing up as the most?
Let's see. It's funny. I don't do an awful lot of it, but I really like.
Used to.
Well, it's true.
But also COVID happened.
Right.
Yeah.
So
That was a pretty long hiatus, but
yeah.
probably one of my favorite series to cosplay from is, of course, Neon Genesis Evangelion, which I love. It's kind of like a series. I don't know. That's a little strong, but I'll just mention this as a joke because I think it's funny. It was some people were like, "I love this series. I would absolutely not recommend it to anyone." But
Okay.
that's kind of like the Fate franchise.
I've tried to watch Evangelion and I just can't get into it. But if you like robots,
It's a very cool. It's a very human drama, honestly. It starts out with a lot of like robot action to kind of pull you in, but by the end, there's a lot of psychoanalyses of the characters and how they, as humans, we like love each other, but we also hurt each other. And some people kind of like overcompensate. And they're like, I shouldn't do that to other people. It's awful. But then they're like, no, man, it's just part of being human. It's okay.
it's just part of life.
It's got a very
you know?
poignant message, but if as long as you watch the TV series, if you watch the movie, then everybody dies. But anyway,
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, well, I think it's one of those situations where like the movie's different. Ain't that
well,
right?
so the reason why, so the TV series ended on, they had no budget whatsoever, and they had just kind of had to like hand draw some of it. It's very bare bones animation,
Yeah.
but I still love it because they had that nice message. But then the movie was after everything got really popular and they started selling toys,
They had
which is
budget.
funny because when they created the series, they're like, yeah, no, Hideaki Anno, that was the director. He also directed Shin Godzilla that came out.
Oh, okay.
And he's going to direct a Shin Kamen Rider movie, I think. And I think, no, somebody else did Shin Ultraman, I think. But anyway, so the point is he was like, okay, I want to design characters that will be impossible to cosplay because he's an otaku, which is like the obsessive Japanese kind of guy. And he knows what those people are like. And he's like, He's like, no, I want to make costumes that are impossible to design, and people cannot cosplay these characters because there's just too much work. And then
And
like
now
a couple,
everybody.
well, and then like a couple weeks later, people were doing it, and he's like, well, I don't know
Yeah.
what he said, but I don't have a quote on that, but it's funny. Anyway,
Yeah, a lot of people cosplay Evangelion.
So
I can confirm that.
so the movie was like as a result of people. He kind of was upset that the series was so popular and like people bought all these toys and stuff. And he's like, okay, well, I'm just going to make a fuck you everybody kind of movie.
Yeah.
But it still ends on a nice note. It still
Even though
ends-
everybody dies.
right. It still ends on a hopeful. Well, see, that's kind of the theme of the movie without, well, I mean, I guess I'm going to spoil the whole thing, but
Spoiler alert.
so if you haven't watched, anyway. So Gendo, who is the father of the main character Shinji, he has this plan in place where he is going to make all of humanity meld into this sort of consciousness together so that nobody has any physical bodies, nobody can hurt each other physically, and they'll all know each other's thoughts. And he thinks that that will create the ideal world. His idea is that he wants to bring back his wife who died a couple of years ago, and he thinks that that's going to bring him happiness, but it doesn't. And he finally realizes it at the end. But anyway, the thing happens because things like that, once you put them into place, they sort of start happening. But anyway, so Shinji is having this monologue with Rei, his father's. His father made a clone of his mom, and she's trying to grow up as a normal girl and figure out what her identity is. People are trying to tell her what her identity is, and then finally she makes one for herself. It's really poignant. Anyway, the point is that he's having this dialogue, and Shinji, in the end, finally decides that, despite all the pain that's in the world, I think it is worth for me to live. And so his consciousness regains form, and he like wakes up on a beach. Nobody else is back yet, but the implication is that people can come back if they choose to, and it's just nice. Anyway,
Yeah, good message.
that's the smartest I've ever talked about an anime before.
Well, and I'll be honest with you. Most anime doesn't have that much thought into it. Most anime doesn't.
Sometimes you like to punch them, shoot them, but
When I remember the first con that I ever went to was with you.
right.
It was with you and Colby and Jacob.
I know we met. No, Austin Branch came
Austin
eventually,
Branch came,
and then
which he's been on the podcast.
oh yeah,
Shout out to Branch.
Was it just you, me, and Colby?
I think so because we went up.
No,
to,
it was Matt.
Oh, was
Matt
Matt
Ashburn.
there? Yeah, that's
It was
right. Matt was
Ashburn.
there. Okay.
He was there. I remember because and this was hilarious because I was a little nervous. I'm not gonna lie, because I was like, "There's gonna be a little bit of cringe in here, and I know there's gonna be, and I'm just gonna have
true.
to. I'm gonna hope to not run into it and face first." And then I walk into the door. I
He's
get my
gonna tell a
ticket.
story. He's going to tell a story.
Which story?
Oh, just
okay.
continue.
Anyways, but there's a Frieza statue from Dragon Ball Z, and I was like, okay, I might like this. I might like this. And then we walk in, and I'm just kind of looking at everybody, and then I'm looking around, and then I look up, and and I look up, and this is so horrible. This is so horrible. But there's stairs, and then I guess glass.
Well,
Is what it
I think it
was?
was open, but it was like the stairs
like
kind
the
of led up to the
walls.
next floor, and the banister thing.
That was the whatever the banister that you would hold on to, or the edging
The
of that
railing or
floor. It
whatever.
was like glass, and it was just straight up this girl's skirt. It was straight, and like she was letting it happen. She knew what she was doing, and I was just kind of like, okay, maybe I will like this.
This is also part of a convention.
I mean, well, I didn't hurt nobody, but it was one of those things where it was just like, that was kind of my first impressions of the con was up a girl's skirt and Frieza.
I mean,
so.
I'm sure there's a lot of, risque kind of. I've never
that's for
been to
sure.
one of these conventions, but I'm
She
sure there's,
had to have known.
there's
She
a lot
had to
of
have
chicks
known.
that will be scantily dressed and, trying to show off some things.
right. And I have to also say that a lot of them do it just because it's fun. I mean, I like to dress up sexy when I go to the convention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what was I going to say? So I've told you, but I'll tell Nick about it, I guess. But so I met Frieza one time, sort of, kind of. Frieza's original Japanese voice actor came to Animazement one year, and I remember we were getting on the elevator on Sunday to go, I guess, kind of toward the con one time, and there was a bunch of people in there, and then in steps this little man in like a Hawaiian like looking shirt. and he's probably like a couple heads smaller than me, which is funny because Frieza probably would be too in his first form. But anyway, so he steps on, and then I think about it for a second. I'm like, oh man, that's Frieza's voice actor, and I'm like, man, I've gotten this close to like the Emperor of the universe,
The
and I
Emperor of
survived.
the Lord of all. And Nick
You
may not
silly
understand.
monkey.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Nick, I don't know if you ever watched Dragon Ball Z.
No,
But-
I tried to draw a dude from Dragon Ball Z when I was a kid,
Right.
but I never watched the show though.
Well, he's a major antagonist. He's like
he's just an evil emperor, and he's
Right.
Yeah.
the biggest one of them all.
Okay, gotcha.
But his voice is very.
well, see in
I
the
don't know.
original.
It's almost feminine.
Well, see, in the original dub, he was dubbed by a feminine voice actor. Her name was Linda Young, I believe.
Okay.
But she was also at the convention too. It was kind of cool because they had both of them in a
Well,
panel.
multiple freezes.
Right. It was pretty neat. But yeah, no, she did the voice, so I think a lot of people thought like, okay, Frieza's a girl, but then it's like, no, Frieza's a guy. So anyway,
Yeah. And then, of course, when we went to MagFest, that was a lot more up my alley
Yeah.
because it was a little bit of everything.
Right.
Yes.
It was a little bit. It wasn't so. I mean, it was heavily, filled with anime.
well, they
too,
had
but-
more music, and
You
they had
said
more
it was more like
games
music and
such.
games.
Yeah. So I mean, we saw a concert while we were there.
Undertale was really big that year.
Yeah, Undertale
I think
was
Undertale
really
had
big
just
that
come
year.
out because it was 2015, wasn't it?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Shout out to Undertale. I don't
Shout
think
out to Undertale. Undertale, if you don't know, Nick, is a game that it was kind of took off with
big
with YouTube.
memes.
Oh,
And
okay.
big memes.
Big sexy skeletons. All right, so I have to mention this because this is one of my favorite posts of all time. So in the game, you meet your character is like a little human child that's lost in the underground. This is where all the monsters of the world kind of reside. There was a war between humanity and monsters, and humans were like, "Begone, you foul
Banish
knave!"
them under the earth.
Under
Okay.
no, I'm kidding. But anyway, so that's where they all live. But so you meet all these different characters throughout the game, and two of the game's most popular characters are this set of skeleton brothers. You got Sans, who's short and squat, and then you've got Papyrus, who's
Yeah,
tall.
I'm sure you've seen Sans at
Right.
some point.
Sans is the guy. He's got on like a blue hoodie thing, and like he's got the little and
Got a little blue fire in his eyes.
one of the cutest things about the game is when everybody talks, it makes a certain noise, and it kind of sounds like the dialogue that's coming across the screen. But Sans is kind of like, it's great,
Yeah.
love it.
What
It's
is
just-
it like? SANDS? What is it? How do you spell that?
I think it's SAN.
Oh yeah, just SANS.
SANS.
I'm gonna try to look that
Right.
Sans.
But-
Undertale.
It's funny that a lot of people, when Undertale came out, they thought Sans was sexy for some reason. I don't know
Yeah,
why.
they were very attracted to Sans.
But what is funny about
Yeah,
right,
that's Sans.
that's him. But what's funny is that in the game, there is literally a guy who is a robot who is designed to look sexy named Metaton, and he's like this. He's like the TV star of the underworld.
Oh, okay.
And he is made to look sexy, and yet there was never as much Metaton list as there
No.
was for Sans. It's hilarious.
Everybody
So
wanted
it's
to
like,
screw Sans.
thank you, Sans, for taking a bullet for Metaton, and he didn't get fetishized out the wazoo.
So there's like some sexual shit that goes on with these things with
yeah.
Okay.
robots and
So to kind of give that's kind of what I meant by cringe.
Right.
It's like to an extent, like some of these people may or may not overly fantasize
Right.
about certain people
yeah.
to the point where it might be dangerous to their health sometimes.
It's certainly possible.
But that's and then there are some people like we met a dude in Magfest and I had a great time even when he was around. But like he just got on my last nerve. He was just like he was a walking meme. And I
Yeah.
was just like, I would
trying to
appreciate
think of
if
who
you would
this
just
was.
leave.
Just go
I have
away.
no idea what his name is,
Can't
and that's
remember.
fine. We don't have to do that. But it was just like he palled around with us for a little bit,
Yeah.
and it was just one of those things where it's like I think he was trying to be cool, so he was
Right.
kind of like overdoing it,
Yeah.
and I'm like, you can just chill, man.
Yeah.
Please.
Like you can just chill. But no, like that was probably my coolest con experience was
very
just seeing Ninja Sex Party.
Oh,
That was
yeah.
so
Ninja
good.
Sex Party.
It was so good.
Really cool band.
It was so,
That
and that
was-
was right when they put the band together too.
Yeah.
Right when they got Tupperware Remix. Well,
Right.
actually,
Well, that was when
Tupperware
they started doing covers. Even that was
Yeah.
really cool.
Tupperware Remix Party was their band during that gig, and that's kind of what started. That was their first performance with them.
Yeah, I think that was what started. Like, yeah, this could work. So
Yeah. And if nobody knows, Tupperware Remix Party is a Canadian band,
they're from space. They are from the future, and they're from the '80s.
and they are badass, badass.
And then we saw them again in 2017, maybe.
2017, we saw them in Raleigh.
Yes, we saw them
Saw
in
them
Raleigh.
in Raleigh. We saw them together.
It's like
in
this
Raleigh.
big ass bar.
That
thing.
was the Fillmore, and that was
okay.
that
Yeah.
was even better. Honestly,
It
like their
was-
chemistry was so much.
I
So
saw
good.
All Time Low there just back in
Really?
October.
Oh,
So
cool.
it's a neat place. I don't like the layout though of how like when you need to go to the bathroom, like you have to walk
Yeah.
to the very back. It's like you have to walk all the way around to
It's,
get to
it's
the
like
bathroom.
Sucks.
it's like there's a bunch of, I don't know. I was gonna say it was like church pews, but that's not quite right.
Yeah, but yeah, no,
it's like
I
these
know
real
what you're
big
talking
long
about.
rows
Yeah,
everywhere.
Yeah, I almost got in a fight at that show.
I remember.
I was singing with the songs, but I was also like Danny memeing, so I can't remember what I was saying. But it was I was saying something after Danny said
It was something like shit.
I can't. Oh yeah, I think I was saying
It was during Dinosaur Laser Fight.
yeah, I think I kept saying shit or something. I don't know, but this dude in front
Holy
of me.
shit, that's what it was.
Holy shit, that's what it was.
Which is from the song.
yeah,
where they
so
just-
I was being funny, and I could probably have shut up, but I was excited. I
Yeah.
wanted to see him.
The best
And-
part about the concert was when we got wet outside and then we bought new T-shirts inside, so then we got to wear those.
Yeah, we got rained on the whole time trying to
Oh,
get in.
man.
No, we completely unprepared.
Yeah.
Like, but no, that dude like literally turned around and said, "Can you shut the fuck up?" And I remember going, "You're at a show. I'm gonna scream whatever the fuck I want."
Wow.
I love
Like, and I
Must have took everything it had in you to not just sock
Well-
him right when he said
well,
that.
it was this big redneck motherfucker, and I did
Yep.
not need to get in a fight with him.
it. He was
But
pretty
it was
big.
it was one of these. I was like, "Why are you even here?"
Yeah.
Right.
Like go away. Like I'm having a good time.
Well, in
I'm
fact, you can just
singing
like
all
go
the
to a
songs.
different part of the thing.
Yeah,
like, go fuck
there
off
was
somewhere.
room. There was room.
That's right.
But it was. I think he was there with somebody, and he didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
And I was the guy that wouldn't shut the fuck up. But at the same time, I was at a live show, singing
dudes have
songs
been
that I
waiting to
absolutely
see.
love.
yeah.
You know, and I probably love them more in 2017 than I do now.
Right.
You know, so and not that they're a bad band or anything. Like, I just don't listen to them as much as I used to.
Yeah.
Right.
I actually have been checking out the Shadow Academy stuff,
oh, okay. I need to do that too.
which is a more serious thing that Danny's been doing, and it's really good shit. It's really good shit.
I got you.
I had a similar experience when I went to Carolina Rebellion in 2014.
Carolina
man.
Rebellion.
Yeah, it's no longer.
That's asking for a sunburn.
Oh well, God. So like that was yeah. I just went for. I mean, it's like a weekend thing, but I just went for one day, and it was me and Corey Pounds, and this
Corey Pounds,
yes, and
straight
so
out to motherfucker.
we decide to chug some energy drinks on the way down.
Always
and
a
this
good plan.
this was actually about this time in May, and it was hot.
Let's see.
Did not really. I'd never been to a festival like this before, so I did not understand how the water worked and stuff.
Not
there.
at all, really.
Yeah. So I got there and we're watching. We're like getting ready to watch Blackstone Cherry, and I'm like dying. Like I am
Needed liquid.
I am dehydrated as fuck, and that was a terrible idea to drink that energy drink on the way there. So I will never do that again. But so then, as the show went on, I started getting more adrenaline and stuff. I started feeling a little better,
Yeah.
and but at some point, me and Corey got separated. I think it was during
man.
Kill Switch Engage's set. We got separated, and then his phone died. So
By the way, go see Kill Switch Engage. It's a good show.
I watched a few of their songs and then I went to a different stage. And like Corey, I think he had made his way up to the front or something like that.
Yeah, Kill Switch is bad.
But I had like no communication with him throughout the rest of the day, so I was like, well, I hope he just knows to go to the car when the day is over.
Right. That is my least favorite part of conventions or shows or anything. I can't get like. If we get lost, like, all right, well, I guess I'll see y'all later.
Well, the big
when it's over.
The big band was Avenged Sevenfold.
Okay. Yeah.
So that was the band that we were really wanting to see, and they were like the big headliner that night.
Yeah. Okay.
So I end up like getting to that stage kind of early, like 2 bands before they're supposed to go on. I'm like, trying to inch my way closer. So like I remember watching Anthrax on that stage, and then I watched Volbeat.
That was cool.
And then Avenged was about to come on out. So I was like actually pretty close. I got pretty close to the stage by this point. And then out of the corner of my eye, like kind of while we're waiting for Avenged to go on, I see this tall, gangly, long-haired dude walking, inching his way. And I was like, oh my God, there's Corey. So I try to move. But I mean, like this, you have to, like if you've never been to one of these festivals before, you are like
shoulder to shoulder.
Shoulder to shoulder.
Uh-huh.
It's like, a pile of people.
It is a pile of people. And so making your way through this is a nightmare. So, but I was going to like try to get over to where I could like stand near him. And the moment I tried to move up a little closer, this one chick in front of me was like, I don't know what the fuck you think you're doing, but you ain't getting in front of me.
It's okay.
I was like, all right, okay.
I'm just trying to get over here.
Yeah, and
okay.
So yeah, like shit gets serious sometimes with these people at these shows,
Well, it's funny.
If I wasn't so dehydrated,
I'd whip your ass.
Beat this bitch's ass.
But no, it's
I'll
funny
break a
'cause,
foot
like,
in your ass.
you would think that like I would be not good in crowds, but I feel like of all the people that I go to cons with, I'm the best in crowds. I don't know if I just kind of like zone out and don't worry so much about it. I mean, like I'll be under my breath and be like, all right, come on, let's go, let's move. But like,
Cody is never the one to be afraid to, like, there's been several times at the end of a Norm set when we're about to tear down, but the mics are still on. Cody will get up there, he'll start doing stand-up comedy.
He'll be lining. Well, but like, I don't know what it is about me when it gets like those festivals. I've been to one. I can't remember which one it was. I've only been to one, and I decided I didn't like it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that the bands were bad or anything. I can't even remember who I went to see. I was young.
It's one of those things like you really...
Was that a Warped Tour, maybe?
Might have been.
I can't remember. But even when we went to like Floyd Fest, cool. We're cool.
Oh, yeah, that was pretty wide open.
I go up to Galax all the time. That's cool. But like, so there are festival situations where I don't like bug out, or there's big event. I didn't bug out at the Fillmore. I didn't bug out when I went and saw Disturbed. At the House of Blues was fucking packed that night too.
Yeah, so and it ain't that big.
Even me, I don't get bugged out by stuff like that. But even like
I do though.
Even at Rebellion though, it was almost too much for me at times. And like even like when Avenged Sevenfold was going on, I mean, like
it's because there's no getaway. There's no getting out of it.
And like so say like during Avenged set, you got people above you every 5 seconds. You got somebody above you crowd surfing or something. You're gonna get kicked in the head multiple times. I don't know how much I really enjoyed that, but so I can only imagine like some of these at these huge metal festivals, they create these just gigantic mosh pits, and I can only imagine. I mean, like I don't think I would survive. Like
I think Sky had told me a story about getting kicked in the face by someone, like straight up kicked in the face.
So you have to be really like intensely into that sort of thing. I think otherwise just give me like a
maybe
venue.
I'm doing it wrong. Maybe I need to start crowd surfing. Like maybe I'm just doing it wrong.
I was scared.
Throw me up there.
Yeah.
I mean, Nick's the most suitable of all of us, I think.
Yeah, there you go.
If
carry
he's
my
scared.
ass.
But no, talking about conventions, I think one of my favorite things about Animazement, well, you were talking about it being real hot and everything. It's definitely going to be hot down there.
It's going to be.
It's always hot. It's always windy.
But so that's not like indoors though?
Well, so it is. So I'll explain. We usually go to the Marriott, which is the hotel that's right across from the Walter Raleigh Convention Center. It's got
Right.
a big statue of him out there. But what's really cool is that, well, so you have to cross the road to get to the convention center, or if you stay at the Marriott, there is an escalator that will take you down to a tunnel that goes underneath the street, and then you'll emerge in the convention center.
Oh, that's badass.
Totally great.
Yeah.
It's great.
Badass.
If you got a wig you don't want to blow away, just go under the escalator. It's great. But I don't know. There's just a lot of special moments for me. Like, one of my favorite pictures of Animazement is not anything of like the convention. It's of me sitting outside the Marriott. There's a lot of different restaurants down there that kind of just, they're on both sides of the street.
They're just kind of chained.
Yeah, and I'm just sitting like I'm sitting at a table and I'm looking up at this like little light that they've got going on. It's like a little triangular light. It changes from blue to green, red, all this different stuff. But I was just looking at it, and I was looking at the hotel, and like the sun is setting behind the hotel, and I'm like, that is like one of my favorite convention photos ever. Just being there. Hotels are fun because you get to be a different person for a little while. Almost.
Get to live a different way.
You have no past. You have a tenuous future there, and then I don't know. It's just pretty wild. But no, I like traveling a lot. I think it's very fun. But I did I ever tell you about how I ran a photo shoot one time?
I think I think you did.
I'm
but
trying to remember which one it was.
I don't think it was because you wanted to.
No, it was because somebody had bowed out. I think, if I remember correctly, was it Madoka Magica? I feel like it was.
You would
Madoka
understand a little bit of this, Nick, because since you're doing weddings and stuff,
right?
It's pretty much the same deal.
It's hard to corral people.
Corral people, make them do things.
You have to direct them.
Yeah.
I think, I'm pretty sure it was either.
I've seen a shoot happen. I've never cosplayed myself. I want to eventually, but I've
like
seen
Bulbasaur.
I don't know. I'm not gonna cosplay as a Pokemon.
Furry.
What do
Furries.
I don't want to be a furry. I don't
Okay.
want to be nothing against furries. We've got furry friends,
Yeah,
but I just
several.
Kayla, it's nothing
Joseph.
against furries. That's not for me. I'll figure out something. I'll figure out something. It'll go on my OnlyFans when y'all get that fucking
Right,
episode
exactly.
to 1,000.
Yeah.
Which episode was that?
That was the last episode.
Last episode. Y'all better start listening.
Yeah.
Catch up.
Maybe that's why people are listening to it.
to get to that OnlyFans
Gotta
account.
to
the
that OnlyFans
key.
I don't know. Maybe you could I think it'd be. Does that MagFest? Is that still a thing?
Yeah,
Magfest still is. That happens in Maryland. So
okay.
It was fun to go to Maryland, though. By the way,
yeah, we stayed
it's called National Harbor. Was
National
the town,
Harbor. That's what
but
it is.
it was like around. Well, I don't.
It felt
remember,
like
but
the entire town was a mall.
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Basically,
That's what it felt like.
We went on this not a merry-go-round, but
Oh, a sky wheel.
yeah, it was the Sky Wheel.
That was when I went on my first sky wheel.
And you could look across the Potomac River, and you could see Washington D.C.
Yeah,
You could see,
that
like,
must've been awesome.
the Washington
the
Monument.
Yeah. Oh, that must have been cool.
And then me and Amy I was with Amy at that time, and we had taken a trip up to Baltimore to see one of her friends. So I saw a bit of
that's right.
Baltimore.
I remember
Yeah.
that.
Well, because when I went to New York a few years ago and we drove up there, so you literally drive through like Maryland and Washington and Baltimore and all that to get there.
Well, National Harbor, it was such a cool convention center because
It's a pretty place.
it was a big mall, but there was I feel like I'd never got to explore all of it just because there was so much of it.
Oh yeah, no.
But
And the good part was you could walk most of it.
Exactly.
It was a walkable city.
it was
really
walkable.
Cool.
So when people were when we were talking about the cruises and stuff, that's kind of what I'm imagining it's going to be like.
Yeah, yeah.
It's kind of like how Maryland was, because it was, and of course this is just National Harbor, but of course there's water, but there's, even when you were outside, it just felt like you were in a big mall.
Yeah.
Right.
I never could distinguish where I was.
Yeah.
I was most of the time following people, going, I hope y'all are taking me to the right place. But you could go in the actual convention center, and it felt as big as the whole damn harbor.
Oh yeah. Shout out to
the
the Gaylord.
the Gaylord. That was the hotel, right?
Yes.
A hotel.
And I'll have to
But-
tell a story about the Gaylord here in a bit.
I mean, you go downstairs and it felt like a whole nother mall.
Oh yeah, there was
Like-
an escalator that went down to all these restaurants and things.
Yeah, there
and-
was so much under it, and then the convention center was up there, and they just had 1,000,001 rooms.
Oh yeah.
Cody, probably that was probably the coolest arcade experience I'd ever had.
Oh yeah, they had a massive 2 warehouse size arcade.
Yeah,
thing. It
I
was
mean
great.
there were games there was a giant version of this. Okay, so Twitch, back in those days, someone had programmed it to
Actually,
where
there was 3 rooms.
Yeah,
Because
there
there was
were
that one room where
there was
everybody
one-
was playing everything.
Yeah,
like
there
all
were-
the consoles, and then there's arcade games and more arcade games.
and then
I
more
think.
arcade games. But back in those days, someone had figured out how to get Twitch to play Pokemon.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
So
exactly
what
what I
they
was thinking
did in the arcade is they set up a Pokemon emulator on a projector,
Yeah.
and so just the back wall of this in particular arcade was the Pokemon game. And there were buttons, like red buttons, just all over the place, and you had to find them.
Oh wow.
So we spent an hour and a half trying to play the game.
Oh yeah.
and
all
eventually
the
it
little
got to
buttons are just mapped to different things on the Game Boy.
yeah, and you don't know what they are. So this one might be the A button, that one might be the B button, one's the start button,
And they
one's an up
changed every
button.
so often.
And then they'd cycle every so often. So we got to the point to where some people were just standing near one button. And we were texting and calling each other, trying to figure. And we spent about an hour and a half and got nowhere. So
Yeah.
we was just
it's just a fun experience.
but
That's
it was
cool,
funny.
though.
So periodically, as you pass a button, you just bop it.
Yeah.
Talking about the Gaylord, I have to mention this. It's sort of like a rite of passage for people that go to. So another con that happens at the Gaylord is KatsuCon, which typically happens in January or so, but it's fairly large, just because it's near that area. But anyway, everybody talks about the KatsuCon pavilion. I'm trying to think of what it's called, but anyway, the gazebo. Sorry, the
Gazebo. There you go.
I don't know if you remember, but when we went to go watch that Super Smash Brothers thing, there was a gazebo kind of on this tiled area near where the mall is, where you go to eat all the stuff. But anyway, everybody wants to go take their pictures in the gazebo.
Oh yeah, we took our pictures in the gazebo. Didn't we?
Right. And it's
Just because you said that.
well, and it's all these cosplayers want to do it for clout because they're I was at the gazebo, but anyway, whatever. Asking myself a question. Talking about the photo shoot. I remember whoever it was didn't show up, so I decided okay, oh no, I remember what photo shoot I ran. So this was 2017 maybe, I think, but it was the Overwatch shoot. So nobody had come to run the Overwatch shoot, I think.
This is back when Blizzard was in good standing.
This is right. No, maybe it wasn't Overwatch. I just remember being at the Overwatch shoot. Well, anyway, it was some sort of photo shoot, and their person didn't show up, and I was okay, well, I guess I'll do this. Yeah, so I just yelled at everybody, and it turned out to be a fairly good shoot. So yeah, it worked out pretty well. Oh, so sorry, I'm not giving anyone a break.
Oh, you're
but
good, man.
Going into a segue, I have to talk about one of my favorite photo shoots that ever happened to me. So this was 2013, and I don't know if you guys know a little game called Danganronpa, but it's kind of like a murder mystery sort of game. Basically, it's this school.
Actually, Nick, you might like it. Actually,
I mean, it's pretty funky. I liked it. I was reading it on Something Awful, the forums, because somebody was uploading it to that they were doing a let's play, but it was screenshot based. So they translated the text.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I love Something Awful for that. There's a really good XCOM Something Awful playthrough that I really love, and I get attached to their characters.
That would be a good one.
It's
to
fun.
do that with.
But so I was reading it on there because somebody was posting it up and translating it at the same time, and I thought that was pretty damn cool. But it's 2013, and that was mostly how people were getting to it because they had not released the game in America.
Yeah.
Anyway, 2013, it was Anime Weekend Atlanta. I went out to the photo shoot, and I was dressed as one of the characters from the second game. His name is Togami. He's a rich kid. He's like the So all the characters in Danganronpa are like the super high school level something. So like there's a super high school level detective, there's a super high school level heir, author, and then there's like weirder ones like cosplayer, photographer.
Is he sort of like that Bling Bling from that one
Yeah,
cartoon?
So Tagami is like he's the rich heir. He's like heir to this conglomerate of corporations, real snooty and snuck up. But what's funny is in the second game, he's a totally different person because he's fat. He's got a much better personality. He acts kind of like as a leader to everybody, and it's like much more endearing. But anyway, so that's who I was, and it was cool because I had on this like nice white suit and everything. And of course, part of the joke inevitably is that he likes to eat a lot. So I brought a Burger King crown from home, and I put it on, and so I was like, somebody crown me, and so we did that. But anyway. The funniest part of the shoot that I want to talk about is there was a fountain. Like, okay, so we're at this like theater like step like arrangement, and that's where we did our photo shoot. And then some of us were hanging out on the top level, and there's a little fountain over there. And I'm talking to this one person, Ingram, who I mean Austin, but Ingram is actually is related to somebody in cartoons. I won't out them here, but anyway.
Yeah, let's not do that.
So yet. Ingram and I were talking. And then I looked.
We'll tell you after the pod. You'll like that.
I looked at the fountain, and there was an ear of corn with the green still on, with the husk still on.
It was just a straight up corn.
And then I looked at it, and I was like, well, that's pretty. That's like the most Georgian thing I've ever seen. But anyway, what was even better is
corn fountain.
One of the characters in Danganronpa #1. His name is Mondo. He's like he's like the gang boss dude.
Yeah.
So he's got like the pompadour that's real kind of like pie shaped squared.
Yeah.
But it's funny because it looks like an ear of corn. And so I was like, oh, Mondo, they killed him. But anyway, that was probably my favorite thing. I was like, maybe I'll eat. And then I think there's a picture of me very blurry, like I'm going to eat it, but I did not do
Probably
that.
made you want some corn.
Well, and I bet
don't just eat random street corn.
I bet especially with doing the conventions, probably a good part of it is just seeing the pictures after too.
Oh yeah, no, it's totally fun to just go. I love how you can show me a picture of a convention, and if I look at the carpet, I can probably tell you where it's at if I've been to it.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
That's pretty fun.
I would like to go to like a convention sometime. I've never been to one.
That's great.
My dad has actually been to one or two, but. I have a few vinyl records at my house, and one of them is a Love Gun record from Kiss, but is signed by Peter Criss. And so that one of these, my dad's really into like horror movies, and he's actually he's an upcoming guest here in the next couple of weeks.
Oh, okay.
But
really, we're actually getting your dad on?
Yeah, I told you that.
Okay, maybe you did. Do I have it in the schedule?
Yeah, because
I still need to update the schedule.
Yeah, that's gonna be one of those back-to-back weeks. But anyways, that's gonna be like Father's Day special.
Father's
Day special. But anyways,
what's so special about a father? anyway,
he's really big into horror movies and stuff like that. And for whatever reason, Peter Criss was at one of these horror fest conventions. And so Dad went there and paid, I think you have to pay a certain amount of money for each person you want to meet. And I think it was like $50 or something like that. And he got him to sign. He met Peter Criss. He got him to sign the Love Gun record, and I think another record that he ended up keeping. It might have been his copy of Alive or something like that. I don't remember, but he gave me the Love Gun record that's got Peter signed. So like it looks like these are some cool things to go see. Like I've heard there was one horror fest I thought would have been really cool. Linda Blair was at one of them. The girl that played Reagan in The Exorcist. Yeah. That would have been really cool to go meet her. Because she like totally freaked me out. Like when I was a kid. So so that would have been really
change your
cool.
life.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. One of my favorite cons that I went to was it was called SuperCon at the time. It was 2017. But I think it's called GalaxyCon now. But it's in the same thing as Animazement in that Walter Raleigh Convention Center. But it's cool because their main draw is they have a bunch of celebrities going on. So like I went there in 2017 and I met several people. I was in Overwatch cosplay and I liked Overwatch, and like you said, Blizzard was a good company.
Yeah, Blizzard
then.
was a good company.
But anyway,
Overwatch is still a good game. I love Overwatch.
So despite all of them, but anyway, so so I met a bunch of the Overwatch voice actors, and that was really cool. But what was also cool is that Dana Snyder from Aqua Teen Hunger Force was there, and various other cartoon properties.
Yeah,
but
Dan
I knew
Snyder's
him.
been in a bunch of stuff.
But I knew him as Master Shake, and I was like, "Oh, this is great. This is like, this is one of my dreams, probably."
This is Master Shake,
Right?
It's just him.
And I remember it was so fun. I got up to him, and Austin, I've told him several times, but one of my favorite moments that is in the show is from the first episode. Meatwad is hooked up to the danger cart, and they're trying They're trying to open the garage door to get out of the house, and Master Shake is like, come on, press the button, do the thing, and then Meatwad's like, I'm trying. He's like, keep pressing it, and then finally Firelock just has to come by and like shoot the door open, and then Shake rolls out, slowly dragged by the slave Meatwad, and then his straw like pops back up, and he's like, well, hurrah, now I gotta go to the bathroom. But I kind of told Dana all this, and I was like, well, I want you to do that because it's like one of my favorite lines, and I did the impression kind of like I did there, and he's like, well, I don't know why you want me to do it, you did a fair job yourself. And I'm like, all right, well, that's pretty cool. So yeah, I would check out GalaxyCon because they have like, you can usually go look and see all the different people.
Now, GalaxyCon, does that mean there's there like Star Wars involved with that?
There's a little bit of
Star
everything,
Trek?
honestly.
That may be why it's called Galaxies, just because it's so broad.
Okay, gotcha.
Well, I think Chevy Chase actually had a autograph opportunity. It was like virtual last year.
Okay.
I think they're doing virtual meetups as well, if that's more your style. But anyway, I really enjoyed SuperCon because it was just like, here's a celebrity there, here's a celebrity there. Which one do I want to meet next? So they had a bunch of wrestlers too. I'm fairly sure Ric Flair was there and a couple other guys.
Oh, that's cool.
Woo! Woo! Did you guys hear that he's going to be wrestling his last match?
That is a lie.
I mean, probably, but that's what he's announced.
I watched on YouTube, actually. It was supposed to be, I think, both Ric Flair and Mick Foley's last match.
Oh, yeah?
And I think it was for TNA. It was like in the bad days of TNA. I think it was TNA.
Probably as a draw,
And supposedly, like when I was clicking on it, I was like, I can't believe this is going to happen.
Right.
It was like Mick Foley and Ric Flair.
They're like in their 70s now, right?
Well, Mick Foley's not, but Mick Foley's been through hell and back.
Oh, yeah.
He's been through way more than Ric
that
Flair
one match
has.
where he was with the Undertaker, the Hell in the Cell.
The Hell in the Cell.
Oh my
no
god!
No one can ever forget.
Okay, so
I don't that one probably I don't know how much of that was scripted. Like
not much at all.
Yeah,
okay, so if you want me to talk, I can give you all the information you need on that match if you want it.
Oh, I've watched it several times on YouTube. It looks
I can tell
brutal.
you I can tell you exactly what happened to a T. So basically, in this match, I just like watching matches sometimes, and this one was long-haired Mick, so he grew his hair back out, and
was he still wearing his mask? He was Mankind at the time, right?
He was his image. He was going as Mick Foley,
right?
But he was imaged as Cactus Jack. So he was wearing the shirt with the cutoffs, like I used to do, the cutoff flannels. For shows,
I think we might be thinking of a different match though, because I'm pretty sure the one that I was remembering is the one where he was still Mankind.
You're talking about the Undertaker. I'm talking about the Ric Flair.
Okay.
Sorry. I guess we already know the other one. So.
Sorry, I'll talk about both of them, but that one in particular, it was so they come out and Ric Flair still at that point he was a good showman, but he wasn't like in those later years he wasn't necessarily a good wrestler. He was just a good showman.
Yeah.
And Mick Foley was not necessarily a good wrestler, but did some of the craziest shit. Did the absolute back in both of them's heyday, they were amazing wrestlers. Mm-hmm. So I was like, this is not going to be very good. That was one of the bloodiest matches I've ever seen in my entire life.
I see.
So and it was good. It was solid. There wasn't missed opportunities or anything like that. Like in wrestling,
not like a typical Hollywood Hulk Hogan match.
Yeah. In wrestling matches, like some of it is scripted. Some of it is scripted.
Well,
But
I
it's
think,
all decided by the wrestlers. They choreograph their own.
yeah. And I'm sure there's probably like
Match.
in like music and comedy, I'm sure there's improv that goes on.
Oh, yeah.
There's
In matches, too.
Most of the matches you're seeing are like that.
Yeah.
Most of them. So this one, obviously, there was some setups, but they moved to them gloriously.
Yeah.
Like, so it was even. Everything was very, very even and looked natural.
Yeah.
But you could tell they had setups. The one, I think the one kind of missed opportunity was the way Mick Foley fell on some tacks, because he was notorious for putting tacks. Like,
Yeah.
and these are
Just like Super Humming.
these are actual thumbtacks.
Right.
And then he was going to put Ric Flair into them, and then Ric Flair poked him in the eye or something. And when he fell, he missed.
Give him old Three Stooges treatment.
So, yeah, he missed the thumbtacks, so he didn't fall onto him, so instead he rolled into him. And I was kind of like, okay, well, that was kind of corny. But it was still probably the bloodiest match I've ever seen in my entire life. But as far as the Mick Foley-Undertaker match, that match was doomed from the beginning.
1996, right?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah, I think it was 96. And that was the second Hell in the Cell, if I'm not mistaken.
It was pretty new, I
So
think.
they had cage matches for the longest time. So cage matches were perfected. But and ladder matches were perfected, kind of. But the Hell in the Cell idea was not perfected yet.
Yeah.
So the cell itself was not meant to be stood on.
And they
And
definitely
they
did.
did.
It was not reinforced the way it's supposed to for people to stand up there.
Yeah.
So that's why you can see them both. They're both heavy men. They were both sagging the whole time, and they were you were just waiting for it to just fall.
Yeah.
The Undertaker had a broke ankle,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
so that's why he moved as slow as he did the entire match.
Yeah.
It's amazing he climbed the cage.
That's,
It's amazing he stood up there. It's amazing that Mick Foley got choke slammed off of it.
Right.
I don't know. Mick Foley must have took a hell of a jump.
Yeah.
So, not to take all the glory and magic out of wrestling, but when you take a choke slam from somebody, yes, they are big enough to lift you. You don't want them lifting you.
Yeah.
It doesn't look as convincing. It just doesn't. It doesn't look as
okay.
convincing. So there's a jump that goes along with it. But when you jump, you have to level out. So
Right.
you jump and then you almost coffin. That's kind of what you're doing.
Oh, okay.
And then their force of their arm slams you.
Yeah.
So it looks way more amazing when a smaller guy does it, or a smaller guy gets hit with it.
Right. Okay.
Especially when the guys can actually lift them. So if they can lift it. But I'm just going to say, in a sagging fence, it's basically fence. That's
Right.
basically what it was. In sagging fence, there's no way in hell anybody would have been able to lift Mick Foley to do what they did.
Nah.
So he must have fucking bungeed. Like, Mick Foley was determined to make that the match to end all matches.
Yeah.
And when that happened so early in the match too. That was what was insane. Is like Mick Foley comes out and I think he had a chair, and he climbs up there, and that was unscripted.
Yeah.
So as soon as the Undertaker kind of sees him up there, he's like, he doesn't want to go up there, but he eventually gets up there, and they're calling the match up there. And really, what happens on top of the mat or on top of the cage is not going very well. It's not very pleasant.
Right.
Like, it's not super fun to watch. But then soon after, he gets choke slammed off, or no, not choke slammed.
Well, he
I'm a
was
liar.
thrown off.
He was thrown off. He wasn't choke slammed.
And I was
thought
going to
he was
say, I
choke
feel
slammed.
like I've heard rumors that Mick Foley kind of edged, or
Yeah.
looking at Undertaker was like, throw me off.
Yeah, he was
Yeah,
put.
probably.
Yeah.
There was a discussion. You can,
Yeah.
if you go watch the video, there was a discussion that happened up there. And when Mick got thrown off, he got medical care come and got him, took him back, and then he started walking back when he came to.
Yeah.
And his damn tooth was in his nose.
Oh, Jesus.
His tooth was in his nose. And then he climbed right back up on top of the cage, and they fought a little bit. I think he went through the cage.
Yeah, so at one point they did. Yeah, he went through the cage.
cage.
Too.
Oh, wow.
And then there was more shit that happened in the ring.
Yeah.
And then after that, it was what was hilarious about that match is Vince McMahon went to Mick Foley and said, "That's the best match I've ever seen in my entire life." And he said, "If you ever do that again, you're fired."
Right.
Like, specifically talking to Mick Foley. Like, no problems with what the Undertaker did. They both consented, and Mick Foley got thrown. But, you know, he said, if you ever do that, I appreciate what you do for this company. If you ever do something like that again, that will be your ass.
He can't lose. He can't lose superstars, and like now when he just kind of fires whoever they want.
Mankind was a large one at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Mankind was the shit.
He was the face. He was a pretty. I mean, he's in every wrestling game to date, pretty much.
He's the only wrestler that was 3 wrestlers in the same night.
Yeah.
Like, that man came out as Cactus Jack, and then like the next match he come out as Mankind, the next one he's Dude Love.
Yeah.
Like, that man, and everyone knew it and nobody cared.
Right.
That was the best thing about Mick Foley is everyone knew it, nobody cared. And he played the characters so good. It was perfect.
I still
perfect wrestling.
I have to mention this because we watched an article. We watched a thing about Dusty Rhodes and how he got his big break.
You wouldn't have thought Dusty would have been a good wrestler, but damn, he was.
Well, see, the funniest part about it is that Vince McMahon eventually called him. He was like in the WWE practice squad or whatever. So Vince McMahon is like,
I think Dusty was with WCW first.
Oh, okay, or maybe he was just wrestling under like a basic kind of thing.
He was as Dusty
Kayfabe.
Rhodes. That was his first big break. But I think you're right. I think he went into some smaller. So the way wrestling happens, which I don't know if it happens like this now, but back then there were small divisions that were almost like citywide.
Yeah.
You know, so like this city had like 6 wrestlers, but it was actually funded from big organizations like WCW, which was NWA at one time, and
Niggas with attitude.
I think it was NWA, National Wrestling Association, and then there was WWF, and the other one was ECW, which was the smallest of them all.
Right.
But I think Dusty was always under the NWA logo because of his father.
Right.
We're talking about the same Dusty, right?
Yeah,
because there's Dusty and then there's Dusty Jr. basically.
Yeah, no.
I thought we were talking about Junior, right?
Well, yes.
Yeah.
So I was talking about him, but finally he got an offer from Vince McMahon. He's like, "Okay, you can be a headlining star. We've got this kayfabe idea for you. We want you to play somebody who's androgynous." And Dusty Rhodes was so excited, he said yes, and then he picked up a dictionary to find out what the word androgynous meant, and he was like, "Oh,
yeah."
And if any listeners don't know Dusty, we are talking about Gold Dust.
Yeah, Gold Dust, the fairly effeminate golden bodysuit wearing, paint wearing.
Yeah, he wore a wig down.
He wore a blonde wig, right.
Typically walked
that
out.
black
He had him a chair.
Feather boa.
He always had a feather boa. He always had like a director's chair beside the stage and stuff. Actually, one of the greatest wrestlers. Like if you want to talk about someone who could just wrestle, like that just knew the way the business worked, how to sell shit, how to really do it. That man, he still to this day, him and his brother both are some of the greatest.
Well, what's really telling, I think, is what they were talking about, how they changed up the Gold Dust character to not be as like, effeminate or whatever, but then everybody was like, "No, we want it back."
Yeah.
and he played it with such aplomb, and it was just like,
the dude would wear thongs just to just to
and he
pull
was
off
supposed
the
to
character.
kind of like sort of flirt with the other wrestler a little bit.
Yeah, he kiss you like he did. It did so much cool shit.
It is the epitome of playing with a bad hand and doing your best and winning the game.
And he's a very manly man. Let me say, he's not like he's not anything like his character, but he sold it well.
Kayfabes are weird.
He sold it well.
Segueing. So going back to G.I. Joe for a little bit, one of my favorite, well, definitely one of the biggest episodes of G.I. Joe is when Sergeant Slaughter joined the
remember Sergeant Slaughter?
Franchise.
He was a wrestler. Wrestled Hogan.
I don't think so. My wrestling time was like The Rock, Stone Cold Steve
Well,
this
Austin,
was back in Hogan, so this is
this was like
80s.
80s and then early 90s. But so Sergeant Slaughter was a pretty popular. He was around at least.
Sergeant Slaughter was the best way to explain him as a wrestler. Sergeant Slaughter was the perfect person to put a belt on to then go right out and take it off.
Yeah.
Like nobody was against Sergeant Slaughter ever getting a belt.
No, that seems about right.
But a lot of the times they used him as a transition to another champion.
But what's fun is that he was approached by Hasbro, and they were like, well, so they had already done a mail-away figure with a real celebrity, William the Refrigerator Perry from the Bears, because they were like, oh, well,
The fridge.
Right.
The Bears.
So they decided to approach Sergeant Slaughter. So Sergeant Slaughter comes to the Hasbro headquarters, and he's in full character. He is in, like his limo. He steps out as Sergeant
Imagine
Slaughter.
a very large man in a tank top, camo pants,
Right.
and he's got a sergeant hat and aviators and just the tightest mustache you've ever seen.
Yeah.
That's Sergeant Slaughter, and he talked to you like exactly what you
All
think.
right, maggots. I have not watched the G.I. Joe movie from 1987 because I've heard it's horrible. But one of the best lines is when I think it's Falcon is getting inducted into Sergeant Slaughter's Renegades, but he's like something about like he's talking about like you're either going to do what I say or you're going to believe in a bag, an itty bitty ditty bag. I love it. But anyway, so he shows up in full character and he's like, yeah, I think it would be great for the part. But unfortunately, what he had to do is because WCW or
Yeah, it was probably WWF.
WWF.
Right,
That's what I was trying to
at
think
that time.
of. I was going to say like WOW.
Which
like,
it's
that's not right.
WWE now, but it was WWF at that time.
But yeah, so with the WWF, they had their own toy deal, so he cannot participate in both toy deals at the same time. So he had to resign from WWF temporarily in order to become a Hasbro property, sort of. So anyway, he sort of did about 4 or 5 years. He was the face of the commercials and everything. He had 4 figures in like just as many years, honestly. But yeah, it was just kind of a real fun. A lot of fans don't really like his involvement because they're like, oh, it's a real dude. It's not the same.
I thought it was cool.
I mean, I think it's pretty cool, but I met him and I talked a little bit about him.
I would have got to meet him, but that was one of my moments,
Well,
Nick,
it's
where I got
okay.
freaked out and I didn't walk. It felt like such a tiny room and there was so many
Oh,
people.
there
going
was a
into
hell of
it.
a lot of people in
And
there.
I was like, there's no way in hell I'm getting in and out of there without having an anxiety attack.
But it was pretty cool, though.
Lionel went to see Scott Snyder
Oh,
to
yeah.
that same
and then,
convention.
and then Marianne and Tommy were
Yeah,
there,
we
too.
saw Marianne and Tommy, and
That's so funny.
they like wrestling too. So.
But no, just meeting him. He was a pretty cool guy, and
He went for the Joe. He didn't really go for the wrestling. He went for
Right.
the Joe.
I brought my Slaughter's Marauders Sergeant Slaughter, and I was like, well, let's talk about this a little bit. And I can't have you sign it that much, but he's like, oh yeah, I know. He just kind of lit up a little bit. It was real nice to see, and there's some nice pictures of me and him. And
Yeah, he
it
got
was cool.
Cody in the camel clutch.
Yeah.
Nice.
And unlike, I think, a lot of some other people that take that picture, because a lot of people, when they get the picture taken, they're just like,
They're
yeah,
smiling, and
I'm
he's
in
got his
there.
arms around you.
I played it the hell up. I was like, oh no! Like it was so fun.
well, I mean, the camel clutch was a submission move.
Right, right.
Well, talking about Mick Foley and that convention that Mom and Dad went to meet
Yeah.
Peter Criss. Mick Foley was there too. They
Was
got
he
a
there?
they got a picture
okay.
with him as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's neat.
it's on Facebook, so I could probably find it and show it to you. But yeah, they got to meet him, and they also met. I
Mick
don't.
Foley's son's playing music. He's young, but if y'all wanted to go support him, he deserves it. He's gonna be a good musician one day.
Oh, yeah. They also got to meet. I don't know if it was at the same convention. They might have went to a couple of them, but they met Dee Snider at one of them too.
Oh, that's
okay,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Cody can tell you about the greatest song. It was "Girls Rock Your Boys" by
Oh,
Twisted
yeah.
Sister.
Oh
Girls
god.
Rock Your Boys.
Tell her about that story.
Okay, so this is a fun episode I have to tell everyone. So back in the early days of YouTube, when it was still like mostly
Oh,
all
it was
whites-
terrible.
Well, and then annotations were mostly a thing, but I just remember, I don't know how I found it. I can't remember, but it was a video that someone had uploaded, and it was very clearly Quiet Riot's Come On Feel the Noise, but they had titled it as Twisted Sister, Girls Rock Your Boys. And so it's
The comment section.
it's what they call environmental storytelling, like kind of like in a video game where you pick up these little notes and you hear all these things from people that have passed through. But there's an annotation up at the top, like it says like, okay, I know the song is wrong. I can't change it. Everybody stop commenting.
But the comment section was insane.
Oh, it was
man.
just a fire.
It was insane.
Hilarious. I feel like there was one that I found also that was like a Blue Oyster Cult mix-up or something.
You sent me another one at some point. I'll have to go through my messages.
I wish I
find
could.
it
I
at
wish
some
I could
point.
think of it.
But there was another one you were just like,
It's happened again.
The best one, I think, out of like those kinds of deals where people are meshing up those songs or whatever.
Just got it wrong.
Well, this one's not so much a mesh up. Well, I guess it is kind of a mesh up, but somebody took two Nickelback songs. One of them was Photograph, and the other one was the I don't know what the name of the song is. One was like, I like your pants around your feet.
Oh, yeah. I played that for Cody.
I love pants and I love feet. It's just
Pants, feet, feet, pants.
Like it's so. That's the only words in the whole
Look
mesh
at
up, but
these
it's so.
Well, it started, I think it was, I like your, or,
Pants
I like
around-
your pants. Or yeah, it
starts
was,
like,
I like your pants around your feet. And it's Photograph in the background.
I like your pants around your pants.
Yeah,
I like
yeah.
your feet around your pants.
Yeah, that's.
I like when you say pants.
Thank God for people that have way too much time on their
Yeah,
hands
it's just
to make
greatest
shit like
memes.
this to entertain us.
Like
Oh,
Bill
Nickelback's a
McClintock.
meme. I'm fine.
Yeah.
What?
Like Bill McClintock, the guy that does all those mashups and
Bill
stuff.
McClintock?
Yeah, it's he did that.
What a
it's-
name.
Okay, so it's 25 or 6 to 4 from Chicago, and it's some song about weed from Black Sabbath. I don't remember what it's called.
Sweet Leaf?
Yes, I think
Sweet
so.
Leaf?
But anyway, so hilarious mashup.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah, me and Cody like going through
The Holy Wars one.
mashups, like where they take vocals for. Well, there was one that had Metallica,
was it like
Megadeth, and someone else in it.
So it's the
Was the
Who.
one with like Stevie Wonder?
Oh, it was the
Yeah.
Who. It was Eminence Front.
Right, it was Eminence
Eminence
Front, the
Front.
Who, but it had the lyrics from Holy Wars and some Megadeth guitar playing. in
Oh,
it.
okay.
It was
But
hilarious.
But it also had Metallica in it too.
yeah,
It was
had
Sad
some
But True,
Metallica.
I think. I think
Yeah,
it
a
was Sad
little-
But True.
bit.
Yeah.
But most of it was like Megadeth. There was just a little bit of Metallica in it.
Yeah, they kind of mixed both of them, but God, that shit was so funny.
Talking about Stevie Wonder, one of my favorites is working for the Paradise City, where it's just enough for the city and Paradise City together. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah. I love
A
those
boy was
mashups.
born in High Time, Mississippi, and it's just it's so good. I love it. But
We need to just have an episode where we just roll through those.
Yeah.
That'd be a great content.
living just enough, just
Oh, Lordy.
enough.
Well, Nick, have you had anything interesting in your life happen here recently?
This is
I'm
the
putting
ending
him on.
segment.
I'm just putting him on the spot.
I mean, I've gotten recently hired on to talk about video games. I've
Oh,
gotten
yeah,
hired on
yeah.
to do a soundtrack for a
He's
video
doing
game.
a soundtrack for a video game.
Oh, that's
Cool as
great.
fuck.
Write some. It's if you ever Cody, you might have heard. You ever heard of a game called Hylix?
I don't know.
Okay,
I think
well,
so.
I didn't
So-
know the game. It's a kind of a what do they call them? It's an indie game for sure. But
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't remember
So
like the
ba-
style
basically,
of the
think
game.
of like when you play Pokemon on a Game Boy, but like on acid. It's basically
Yeah,
what
it's
this game
trippy
is.
as fuck.
And the
see.
music is the same way, and that's what the girl that's developing the game, she was wanting me to do. So,
Oh,
so I
okay.
was like, well, this is interesting. I don't normally write trippy music, but I'll take a shot at it. And I made a track and I sent it to her, and she really liked it. So
That's awesome.
she's wanting
I
me.
love
She's
that.
having me put it on pause for now until she gets all the levels developed. But
Right.
that'll be a fun project to take on when the time comes. But
Man, I did some game development, and by that I mean I basically wrote a story and then I let somebody else develop it because
oh my god, I've like watched people on YouTube and stuff like because I'm a big Tomb Raider fan, and I've
Right.
original Tomb Raider, and I've watched people like create a level because there's a custom level creator or
Oh,
level
okay.
editor online, and you can go create your own level, but I mean, it looks it's way too over my head. I'm like, what in the world is going on?
Well, that's like maybe like before I got out of high school. I guess it was like early high school, but I got into editing Fire Emblem ROMs because there was a hexadecimal editor that you could use.
Yeah.
But so I was doing a lot of that. But talking about this project that I was involved in, it's so have you seen the horror movie The Thing?
Yes.
It's the one with
Was it the one that the John Carpenter
right
directed?
it's the John Carpenter thing.
Because there's an original one too.
Yeah, no, it's not the Plant Man one. But,
yeah.
So there was a video game that came out in like 2001, I think. It's got a Saliva song in it. It's hilarious. What was the Saliva song?
Is it Saliva or is it?
No, it's definitely Saliva. I can't think of what it's called.
It's the one that's like dun, 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 dun,
oh no,
dun,
it's called After Me, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So I think maybe it was original for the game. I don't know. But anyway, so the game was fairly good, but there was plans to make a second one, except I guess they didn't sell enough. But I love the Thing franchise, and somebody was making a role-playing game version.
It wasn't Click Click Boom, was it?
No. It was called After Me.
Yeah, that was the song I was thinking of.
After Me?
Yeah, I think it was just for the game. Trying to think of what it was called.
I don't think I've ever heard this song before.
Yeah, it was probably mostly just for the game because it sort of was like, there's somebody after me, which is kind of like what the Thing is all about. But anyway, so somebody was taking the Thing and they took that original 2001 game and they made it into a role-playing game, which I love because that was great. Plus, like the original game, like dudes died no matter what you did, basically. And once you figured out, it kind of took all the fun out of it. But in the RPG, you could save as many dudes as you want. Like I saved pretty much everybody that was around almost. But like the infection was randomized, so sometimes your favorite dude would end up becoming a thing, and then you have to kill him. And I don't know, it's fun. I like games that get you attached to individual characters, and then you have to make a hard decision. I think that's fun.
Yeah.
Like
You're
XCOM,
probably right.
Mass Effect.
After Me was probably written for the game, but it doesn't specifically say.
Oh, okay.
It just says it could be heard at the end credits and then the main menu.
Dun, 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 dun. I don't remember exactly how it goes. But anyway,
Post grunge.
So somebody was making an RPG. His name was Richard, I think. But if you search up the Thing 2 fan RPG, I helped make a mode for it. So Richard was adapting the materials. He got into contact with a developer from the game who was working on the second one that was canceled. And so I guess they just talked about like all the different ideas that they had. Like I saw some of the concept art and it was pretty cool. But anyway, so Richard made a Thing 2. And I was like, hey, I've got an idea for an episode. What if I do this? And it was inspired by this news story that I heard. So apparently there was a ship that got lost in Antarctica and it got stuck in ice. And then another ship that was supposed to break the ice went out to go get it, and then it got stuck in the ice. And I was like, okay, this would be hilarious if the Thing was involved. So you got like two ships they can't fucking go anywhere, and now there's
like an alien thing taking over.
Right. So that's what I pitched to Richard. I was like, okay, so this is going to be my story, and like I made characters. Her name was Dr. Natalie, but I can't remember what her last name was. But it was like Natalie, she was like this researcher, and she was the main character. Have y'all played Dead Rising? I know you've seen Dead Rising before. But
I actually feel like I have that game and I've never played it.
it's like early Xbox, but
It's
or
fun.
it's only Xbox exclusive?
well, it's Xbox 360.
It
I
came,
think.
it
Okay, well,
came
then no, I
out
don't have that,
for Xbox 360, but you probably have it on PlayStation 3.
Okay.
With your fucking,
But no.
it's the whole Uno meme.
So
Yes, I
Like,
actually
you
think,
have Uno?
Yeah, I think I have it for PS3. And I've
you
maybe played it
probably
one
do.
time. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good game. It's just like a zombie killer.
Yeah.
Basically.
it's like a free roam sort of thing, but there's also this like tightly set chain of events that like if you have to go like here at 3:00 or something. But anyway, that's kind of what I wanted the game mode to be like, since it's a temporary situation. So like eventually you have to run out this time and then something will happen somewhere in the ship. But it was really cool how he was able to implement that. But what I thought was really fucking great is that I designed all these characters and then people voiced them, and then I got to hear it. And I was like, man, that is just totally cool. Like, I think
I'm in the game,
yeah, that's right.
and I'm voiced by a female.
That's cool.
I guess they just didn't know what to do. But like, yeah, there's name ones for Austin, Colby, Jacob, and I can't remember everybody else. I know that I ended up being in one of the expansions to the thing too. It was like there was this other community you could find, and if you built up enough trust with them, you could recruit the guys that were in the community. And I was I was like the medic in the community. It was pretty
that's
cool.
cool.
Where can you play this game at? Is it on Steam or?
So you could probably play it through Steam, but it's just a free download on like moddb.com, I think. You'll have to check it.
It was like a free release.
Yeah, it's totally free, so you don't have to pay for it at all.
I think I need to clarify something too. When I was talking about that Hilux game a little bit ago, this
Thing?
It's the Thing 2 RPG. That should get you, I think.
But this game called Hilux is not the game that this girl is developing that's hired me to do the soundtrack. This is the game that she referenced to me. Like so.
Okay.
But I was like watching it on YouTube and I was like, I don't know what's going on here, but it's like
ModDB.
Is it like a musical-based platformer sort of thing? Like you have to do stuff in beats to the music, maybe?
No. But like if you watch it, it's almost it's like you're watching it from an aerial view, and then there'll be sequences where like you come across a battle.
Oh, okay.
Right, and so then it becomes like a Pokemon thing where like they'll throw some kind of attack on you, and then you retaliate by you have like a list.
It's like turn-based,
Yeah, all right.
But it's like, so it's laid out kind of like Final Fantasy. So like if you're like walking and you run into something, then you enter a battle, and then it's turn-based from there.
Yeah.
But yeah. So he's been doing the music for that, which is fucking cool.
That's pretty damn
a
cool.
Really
honestly.
cool gig.
I mean, all I did was just write a story, and then it got implemented. So
but still, that's pretty.
Well, that's
badass
really cool too. Yeah,
someone's got to come up with the ideas.
Yeah,
man.
Right. So
Someone's got to.
it was fun, and Richard was fun to work with. I hope he's doing all right.
Yeah, I wish I could do more stuff like that. I find my way into weird shit, but not like cool weird shit sometimes. So, like if anybody needs video game music, it'll be your Nick. We can do it.
Yep, we can do it.
Well, like, see, during school, I would just like take out my notebook and I'd be like designing video games. Like, I've designed.
Cody has so many
Oh
stories.
yeah, I'm sure.
Notebooks.
Yeah.
I've designed so many Fire Emblem games. I like came up with stats and growth rates for everybody. I was like, and I thought of the story. I think there was like 6 games that I made, which you could probably have condensed a few of them. But the point is that it was fun to do. And then like I made sort of like a hypothetical thing game before, and God, what all else? Several RPGs, Final Fantasy or no. There was one I made that was based on Earthbound, where it was like we all had psychic powers, and somebody. It was like this organization had come, and they had sort of like domed the school like to keep all the children there because they were researching them for their psychic powers, and I took inspiration from Earthbound and it's like PK abilities and stuff. But it was pretty fun. I liked it.
You should tell us about the school story now that you mentioned
that's right.
that.
Okay, that's right. Good segue.
This is a story that is unrivaled of probably all the Keeley stories that I've gotten.
So
she has told me many stories, and I love them all. But this one in particular that happened to Cody just made me laugh so damn hard.
Oh, this is so good.
I had no idea any of this shit had happened. And then like Keeley told me one day, and I was like, "Are you serious?" And Cody's like, "Yeah." Like, I was like, "Holy shit, this is hilarious."
So this might be new for you, Nick. I'm not sure if you've heard about this before, but so when I was in 8th grade, what was it? Snakes on a Plane was about to come out, and like they had this big marketing campaign, and it was all over the internet. It still didn't do very well, but that's besides the point.
Yeah.
So I decided, like, okay, well, I like writing some stories, so maybe I'll make like a Snakes in a School. So I decided to do that.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, I was reading like Michael Crichton novels where it's like a bunch of people foolishly decide to go after this monster, and then a bunch of them die. And that's my favorite kind of movie, honestly. But anyway, so the point was I wanted to make the Snakes in a School. So I used people that I knew. I used like Austin. I used myself. I used Colby, Chris, Alex. I can't remember everybody else, but and then my teacher was involved, which was part of the problem where I got in trouble. So, I wrote a little story. It was probably about like 10 pages on notebook paper. But anyway, so once I finally got all that done, I made a little cover sheet in my shop class. I'm very good at graphic design, but like I put like a little snake on this thing and I said like, by Cody Ball, and I titled it and everything. So I stapled it
It was
together.
a legit story.
And I kept it in the binder, or not a binder. I kept it in the planner that they gave us at the beginning of the year. I had some RPG stuff doodled in there too. I still have the book somewhere. I also remember I doodled a little Scarface because I was really into Scarface at the time, and there was even like a story where I was writing a Grand Theft Auto based story.
Yeah,
it
really
was like
that shit.
it was like in between.
This was back in Grand Theft Auto 3.
Well,
that was one I've actually played the most.
Well,
Right one.
actually, it was between Grand
Probably
Theft Auto.
Vice City.
It was right before Liberty City Stories, actually.
Okay.
So it was about how I don't know if I need to get into Grand Theft Auto lore, but anyway. So the point is, so with the snakes in the school, I wrote it. It was fun. We went out to go jog at the track one day, and I had the binder with me because I kind of kept it everywhere. I'm just gonna call it binder. Fuck.
Yeah,
anyway,
let's call
so
it binder.
I had the planner with me, and I left it on the table. And I just sort of, unknowingly got all my stuff together, and I went back into the class, and I never noticed it was missing until later. And I was like, well, shit, the story's gone. I don't know what the heck happened to it. And then eventually, I'll never forget. I was in social studies class with Miss Penn.
Was this the same day, or was this?
No, it was several days later.
Several days later. Okay.
So the suspense had been building. But anyway, so I was in Mrs. Penn's class. It was this older black lady that taught our social studies class. And somebody was like, Cody Ball, please report to the office. And I was like, ooh. Oh, yeah. And of course, everybody oohed because I never got to the office for anything. And what was most humiliating is that Miss Penn's classroom was on the top floor of the far side of the school from the office. So I had the whole way to think about it.
Yeah.
So I had
what am I going to get in trouble for?
I had to go down the stairs. I had to walk all the way across the school. I had to pass the gym, had to pass the library, had to pass the bathrooms. But anyway, so I finally made it to Miss, I don't know if I should use an alias or not, but anyway, I got to the vice principal's office.
The vice principal's office.
So when I got in there, she was like, well, hey, Cody, I never usually see you in here. I'm like, well, yeah, I'm kind of wondering what I'm here to. And she's like, well, oh, no, sorry, that was a fabrication. I got in there and I knew exactly what it was for because on her desk was Snakes in the School.
Oh, yeah.
And she was like, so I think you've been missing this. And I'm like, yeah, I was kind of wondering where that was. And so apparently the story had blown out to the tennis court, which was right beside where the track was outside. And I guess one of the tennis players had found it, and either they read it and didn't like it, or what, I don't know. Either way,
yeah.
But so the point is they turned it into the principal's office because I had used lots of swear words.
That's lame.
It's very lame.
It's snakes on a plane.
Well, right, exactly.
Inspired. It had Samuel L. Jackson in it. Of course, there's going to be a million and one swear words.
And like, there's,
you were sick of these motherfucking snakes in this motherfucking school.
Right. And like, I mean, even there was Pet Cemetery was in the library at the middle school. Yeah. Like, okay. But anyway, so the point was I used like fuck, shit, damn, hell. I used everything that I knew at this point. Prick. I remember that was in there because I think somebody had called Chris a prick because like he had run away or something. But anyway, so I had a lot of stuff in there, and the vice principal was like, well, I have to say this first. Honestly, if everybody wrote at the level you would, we would not have to worry about it. I was about to say,
she probably thought it was really great.
I mean, she thought it was pretty cool. She was like, you know what? Aside from the language and the themes, I guess, if everybody wrote like this, we wouldn't have to worry about it. It's fantastic. But she says, unfortunately, because it does have a lot of swear words in it, well, you don't get in trouble very often. So I think I'll just give you this note. You just take it home to your mother. Well, she didn't know it didn't have really a dad, but she's like, take it home to your parents, get somebody to sign it, bring it back to me first thing in the morning. I said, all right, well, I guess I can do that. So I was a little worried about how Mom would react because I got in trouble for something stupid. She always got on to me because I used to get in trouble for talking in class, she's like, why can't you do like something big? But anyway.
Why can't you do something big?
I don't know. So I guess
it sounds exactly like
this is pretty big. So anyway, I got in trouble and I took the sheet back home and Mom was looking over it and like it's cited like in the sheet, like, use the word prick, use the word fuck, use the word this. And Mom was like reading it and she says like, well, I guess I have to ask, did you use all the words correctly? And I'm like, I'm fairly sure I did. And I had. But then she said something about, did you misspell anything in your story? And I'm like, I'm pretty sure I didn't. And she's like, well, look at this. They misspelled something on this form. I forget what word it was, but yeah, they had definitely misspelled something when they typed it up. So she's like, you know what? As far as I'm considered, you're better than them. I don't really care. I'm just going to sign this.
Yeah, this is not a big deal.
And unfortunately, I did not get that story back.
Oh,
And
damn.
Stupid.
But what was funny, though, is I saw the vice principal woman years later. I don't remember how long ago this was. And I saw her, and she was like, oh, it's because she was working at the next school, at the high school.
Okay.
And so I think she was the principal there, maybe.
I have no idea.
Well, I forget. This was like 2013.
She was a fill-in principal, I think.
You talking about at West Stokes?
Yeah,
Right,
I think
right.
she was
I
a
think
fill-in
so.
principal.
But it was probably around like 2013 or so. But she was like, well, hey, Cody, I remember. And I was like, you know what? I have to ask. And so I
Where's
said,
my
Where's
story?
that story?
Yeah. And I said, well, where's my story? You know, I got in trouble for it. She's like, you know what? I do remember that, but I do not remember where it is. And I'm like, man,
Damn it.
that would have been totally cool to have it. I don't think I have the sequels anymore either, because I did write sequels, of course.
Oh, yeah.
What was cool was like the sequel immediately after the story. I was also reading the story Meg. I don't know if y'all have seen that before.
I've heard of it, yeah.
The big shark
Yeah,
story.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
So I did like a time skip, and it was like 10 years later, like all of us going back to the school as older adults. The school was still abandoned and still filled with snakes in an urban area. I don't think that would have been possible, but it was still pretty funny. The only part that I really remember from that one is that I used to joke like I used to be able to write ambidextrously. So they, the way that they prove that the contact is really me is that Colby, who was, I guess, kind of the main character, hands me a pen and has me write both of my right hand and my left hand. And then after seeing the left hand, he's like, that's right. You are Cody, right? And I'm like, yes, I am, or something. I'm trying to think of other stories that I've written that, well, not necessarily got me in trouble, but I remember Dinosaur Island. That was pretty cool.
Dinosaur Island.
So one of the things I like to do, Nick, I had my aunt's compact computer that she had given to me, which is totally shit.
Yeah, back in those days, I don't even know if Compact's a company anymore. Back in those days, the computer that everyone had access to because it was so stupidly cheap was a Compact.
And like she just mostly used it to play like Zuma and stuff.
Right.
Like, but
That's what we did.
And we played Zuma a fair bit. But no, it had Microsoft Works on it, not Microsoft Word. It had Works.
Yeah, I remember that.
So I was writing Dinosaur Island in Microsoft Works. It was about 40 pages long or so, but for a while there, like 10th, 11th grade, like 9th, 10th grade, I would just kind of go home and then like for a weekend or so, I would just kind of hammer out a story, and then it was fun. And I remember I took it to one of my teachers, one that Austin didn't end up liking very much, but that's fine. I mean, whatever. Anyway, so I took it to her, and I would like, you know, what did you think of the story? She's like, well, yeah, this is pretty good. I enjoyed it. And she'd have some questions sometimes, but if she wasn't familiar with the property.
I know the teacher we're talking about now.
Yep. But anyway, she asked me a couple questions about the property, and then I was like, well, yeah, it's like this. And she's like, yeah, I thought that was pretty enjoyable. So I don't know. I wrote a Dinosaur Island story. I wrote Two Things stories because that was...
My favorite is Greg and the Story of Nothing.
Greg and the Story of Nothing. See, that was...
I love that story.
Okay, so that also goes back to the school where I got in trouble. So this was in 6th grade. It was like the first day of computer class. And I think we had just kind of talked about our syllabus or whatever, like what we were going to do for the rest of the year. And he's like, all right, well, you can kind of just fool off and do whatever you want to. So I opened up Microsoft Works or Word or whatever, and I start hammering out the story. It's kind of like in a poem sort of format. And it was about a boy named Greg. I was thinking about the whole time the kid from Perfect Hair Forever. That's sort of what I imagine Greg to be like.
Okay. Perfect Hair Forever had like, 8 episodes maybe?
Yeah, it was one of those Adult Swim episodes.
It was an Adult Swim thing, but it didn't come on until like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
Like that, like when you got to Adult Swim, you got to see like the good stuff, and then this was something that they were like, we hope does work.
It was one of their indie productions that they were like, yeah, then maybe this will work. But anyway, so I was thinking about that character, but basically it was like Greg was walking home from his work and he happened upon this guy that was selling magic beans. And the guy's like, hey, I'm going to sell you these magic beans. There's shit going to happen in your life. You won't believe it. And then, unlike any other story, Greg was like, nah, I ain't going to buy them. And then, like, the chapter ended there.
That's it.
And then, like, the next chapter.
That's the best part. Like, the whole story. Nick, you really need to. I really think you should publish that.
I think it would be hilarious.
I think you should publish it because
I would read
don't
it.
give away everything because I really think
Yeah.
you should. And people would fucking love it, dude.
There'll have to be a couple of licensed characters changed because.
Oh, we can do that.
Well,
yeah.
you know, traditional middle school cringe where you like put in like your edgiest fan
Right.
characters that you, or like characters that you know from media. So, you know, that happened. But anyway, so, yeah, Greg eventually does eat the magic beans, I think, because he's so bored that nothing is happening that he's like, yeah, okay, sure. And then he eats them. And then a genie comes out of something. I forget where the genie came from. But
I can't remember.
the genie
It's
told
been a while.
the genie told Greg that he had a quest, and so he had to defeat the great evil because he was the one that ate the magic beans. And among Greg's other allies were the genie, and then he had what was his name? He was an octopus, but I can't remember what he was called. Oh my god. He was a demon though. So he looked kind of like a character off of Yo Gabba Gabba, like if there was an octopus like mascot character, but he was really like the Demon King. And so he was Greg's mentor. And then there was a kind of playing off the Rouse from Princess Bride. There was another rat. It was the RNM, the Robot Ninja Mouse. And so
Robot Ninja Mouse.
he was a temporary ally for a little bit. But anyway, it was just this.
There were 7 episodes of Perfect Hair Forever.
That seems about right. That's Adult Swim for you.
God, it was in 05.
Catman.
It was released. Well, it says 04, but then all of these say they were released. Oh, you can watch it.
Excuse me.
Online.
Excuse me. Can
At
you help this vacuum cleaner fuck this cake?
Yeah, so the best part, we just saw like one episode and we were just like, this is the best show ever. They should totally do something with it. But
So-
it was like a flying hot dog doing la la la
Oh, yeah,
la.
the
It was
flying hot dog was in it.
spinning
That's right.
circles. Was the
The flying
spinning-
hot dog was in it. Yeah, yeah.
Was he in Greg in the story?
Yes,
of nothing?
yes, yes.
Okay, he's in Greg in the story of nothing.
So it was really kind of a Perfect Hair Forever ripoff. But so in Perfect Hair Forever, he's got this uncle grandfather, which is kind of like
Uncle Grandfather.
well, it's a joke because like in Japanese the words are kind of similar. So I guess that's sort of where it came from.
Yeah, it's set up sort of like an anime, like it's supposed to be an anime.
Yeah.
Right. But Uncle Grandfather, like, he has this buxom young teen girl, like, with a short skirt doing stuff for him. And he doesn't have any time for Greg, and he makes his own porno films, but not with the girl. He has this vacuum cleaner, and he has this cake, and he's, like, trying to mush them together.
He's trying to figure out how to get him to make a sex scene of some sort.
okay.
And most famously, Uncle Grandfather's like, oh yeah, frost his bag. And then so I think the girl comes in on him or something. Somebody interrupts him and he's like, oh, hello. Can you help this vacuum cleaner fuck this cake? It was so
Such a stupid show, but it was so good.
talking about like, I don't know, Adult Swim, like if you caught it early enough in your life, it then became your life. So that's kind of what happened to me.
Yeah, it Adult Swim cartoons in particular.
Now spray him in the eyes because that's how it happened to me.
That's how it happened to me. Adult Swim cartoons have a special place.
Yeah, I used to
in my
get
life.
I used to get down on some Robot Chicken.
Oh yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
Robot Chicken was probably the number one at all.
Yeah.
If I
G.I.
had to
Joe,
say.
Transformers, He-Man, those things are things that exist.
Well,
Shut
and
up,
I just love
Chris.
Seth Green too. But also like Aqua Teen was one of my favorites. I'm trying to think of some other
Gentlemen.
ones. Aqua Teen.
Vegetables have threatened
Oh,
man.
and Squidbillies.
Squidbillies, for sure.
Squidbillies was great.
I 12-ounce mouse was on there, but I don't really remember much of it. I don't know what the plot was.
Think of what else I watched.
Oblongs. The
Oblongs. The Oblongs didn't come in on until
Will
after
Ferrell's
o'clock in the
greatest
morning.
role.
That was literally one of the great. Like I would wait for the oblongs to come
It's
on.
good. It's good.
And it came on like it was kind of like Perfect Hair Forever. It came on like 2:00.
Talking about Toonami and Adult Swim, I just remembered is an extreme
Home movies. I forgot about
home movies.
Home movies. is good.
Megan would kill me if I didn't mention home
Yeah.
movies.
That was the most poorly animated show I ever watched.
But H. John Benjamin is hilarious.
Yeah, it was so
fine.
good.
But I just remembered an extremely specific memory. I used to go to my dad's on the weekends, and like he would let me watch TV for a while. And I remember waking up like at 3 a.m. and like Cartoon Network has finished showing Inuyasha. And I don't remember how the whole ED goes, but the ending theme goes.
Yeah.
But, I always woke up during the part where they're going like, Bokutachiwa.
We all did. We all did, Cody.
And I'm like, oh, yeah, is this? And, like, it was scary because Inuyasha came on real late at night and, like, there's demons and people getting eaten and shit. And I'm like, fuck. I'm being mature.
Knucking futz.
I remember watching an episode of Yu Yu Hakusho. It was during...
That was a good show.
I love Yu Yu Hakusho. Jesus Christ. But no, it was when they were doing Genkai's little tournament thing to become her successor. And I was like, well, this is weird. What is this? But
It's so much fun.
God,
So much fun.
I love watching anime, but it'll never be as magical as it was then at like 3 a.m.
At 3 a.m. when you're like half asleep.
The kids today, they just don't...
Wayne, you probably had something you watched, right, Nick? Like half asleep in the morning, like just no reason to be up.
Wasn't necessarily
George
like
Lopez
anime.
show.
It would have been like Lopez.
Oh,
George Lopez or something. Like I was a big Nick at Night kind of guy.
You like the Nick at Night stuff.
Yeah.
So you got Drake and Josh in there.
Well, they were Drake and Josh. I think was more like Teen Nick. But Nick at Night was like, originally back in the day it was like Full House, fucking.
Well, like on the
Full
weekends
House.
they played like George Lopez all the time.
Lopez
All the time.
Oh,
and
friends.
maybe like Fresh
no
Prince
rider.
at times.
Fresh Prince.
Fresh
Maybe I don't know if they ever showed like Saved by the Bell on Nick at Night. I can't
No, I
remember.
don't
I
they
don't
did.
think so.
But
George
yeah.
Lopez though. Oh my god, that was a good show too.
Hey,
He still exists.
yeah, he's totally gray headed now.
And you
but,
are my man.
This is I'm gonna sound like a total bitch for saying this, but and I don't know how long we are going, but like my achingness is killing me right now.
Nick is getting sicker. Well, I was about to segue us into legit or shit anyways.
Okay, cool.
Like I said, I'm not trying to be a bitch.
Oh,
but
nah, he's being a bitch.
I'm being a total
No,
bitch.
it's okay. Well, like we were
abstain.
cutting in. I was getting us there.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I came ill prepared. So we're just off the cuff, legit or shit.
All right.
You know how this works, Cody?
So as far as I know, you just kind of present me a thing and I say if it's legit or shit,
Yeah.
right?
So you and Nick are gonna legit or shit.
Okay, cool.
So
I did pretty good last round.
I'm excited.
yeah, and the last one I think you did you get all of them?
So is this like you're presenting us a thing and we have to decide if it's true or not?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought it was more of a like the thing, but
Yeah,
I got you.
it's
Cool.
like true or false, basically,
all
but
right, all right.
legit or shit. So,
I sound like one of those dumb podcast guests now. So you guys, anyway.
so the deepest freshwater lake in the world is Lake Baikal, located in Siberia. It plunges to a whopping depth of 5,315 feet. Legit or shit?
I'm gonna say shit on that one.
I'm going with legit.
That's legit.
Oh, okay.
It
All
is
right.
legit. That is insane for fresh water.
I do like water, but
Yeah.
I don't know how deep
That's pretty
it is.
scary.
Absolutely. This is one I'm probably not going to get on Cody, but it's probably good to follow Cody in this one.
Watch me like fuck it up anyway.
Actually, I'll just change it up. I'll change it up because
okay.
I feel like you'll get that one. This is one.
Oh, talking about water, just real quick, like I made a film actually talking about this bridge, my love of stories and action figures, because I made a film on like a 2 megapixel camera, and I have you ever seen the movie The Cave, where like they go down into this watery thing and like there's all these monsters and shit in the dark and everything?
No, at first I thought you were talking about that one movie where the dude was like got his arm trapped Or that's a different name. It's like
I
something
feel like
1,000 feet down or
Oh,
something.
I know
Yeah,
what
yeah.
you're talking about.
I feel like
Yeah.
I've seen that movie.
But no,
too.
I don't think I've seen Cave.
Well,
The
I
Cave.
think the cave is like it's always underwater explorers or whatever. But so I did that kind of like with my action figures, but I filmed it and I still have it, and I haven't been brave enough to watch it. But anyway, so I have a lot of my original action figures in it, and it's probably pretty fun. But anyway, go ahead.
Okay. So
Oh,
owls.
sorry. The last part I wanted to mention is I had this concrete block. It was just like one with a hole in it, and I put it into the water at an angle so it looked like there was a cave coming out of the water. It was very cool. Anyway, so
Yeah.
that's pretty much it.
Okay, so owls have the largest eyeballs of any bird. Legit or shit?
I'm going to go with the shit.
I want to say it should feel like an ostrich.
It's shit. You know the reason why? They don't have eyeballs at all.
No,
Oh, wow. Okay.
Their eyes do not move. That's why they move their necks.
Uh,
So they're
see.
actually, here's a good explanation. Instead of eyes, they're shaped like tubes, held rigidly in place by bones.
just like the internet.
like tubes. So yeah, so they're not spherical at all.
Interesting.
Um,
That's
let's see here.
terrifying, honestly.
Yeah, it's absolutely weird, ain't it?
yeah.
I can just imagine the owl projecting his eye lasers.
Yeah, owls scare me.
eye
They seem like they're
laser.
really aggressive.
That's for sure.
Well,
I like this game so far.
I'm really bad at this. Here we go. There are almost 5 billion internet users in the world. Legit or shit?
I'm going to go with legit.
Nah, I gotta say that shit.
It's legit.
Really?
It's legit.
That's crazy.
Well, it's almost 5 billion. Depends on what your
It's like 4.7.
it's just almost.
Oh, okay.
I think
That's as far as we're gonna go there.
I think I'm
It's
3-0.
3-0.
I think.
3-0.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think I've only got one.
so a tiger's roar can be heard from 3 miles away. Legit or shit?
Shit.
I feel like it should.
It's shit.
Wow.
It's 2 miles away.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay.
close, but still hearing a tiger
How do
from
they-
2 miles. I don't know if I heard a tiger at all. I'm fucking out.
Oh, that's
they-
right.
That's what's
Exactly.
happening.
How do they measure that?
It's it's probably
You
not
stand
in
over
a-
here, and I'm gonna.
Yeah. You stand right there and
I
roar
would-
when I tell you.
I would assume it's probably not in a wooded area, and I
Yeah.
guess you would just have to have a decibel meter,
Yeah.
near a sanctuary or something like
interesting.
that. You
Kind of set them up at different
Out.
intervals, I guess.
Let's see here.
Like the Mythbusters.
Okay, here's a good one. So Buzz Aldrin, the second guy to step on the moon, actually pooped himself while walking on the surface. Apparently, I gotta look this one
I've
up.
watched a lot of Apollo 11 documentaries.
They never mentioned it.
I'm trying to remember if that was mentioned or not. I'm gonna say shit. No pun intended.
Right. I don't know. I think it's legit. I feel like if anyone, yeah, sure.
It is shit.
Oh my
Okay.
gosh, I'm on a roll
Okay.
today.
Well, yeah, but what's the answer?
So really, what he did is he peed himself.
Oh, okay.
So he actually boasts about the first guy to piss his pants on the moon. so even though he wasn't the first man to set foot on the moon,
He was the first to set piss.
first to put his piss.
I pissed on the moon, you idiot! How do you like that, Obama?
How do you like that, Obama?
Take that, you stupid Russians.
There's this dub where somebody did a Sonic Adventure 2, and it's they did it live, so they just were thinking of shit on the fly. But so Dr. Robotnik is like, I've got an announcement. I'm making a call out post on my Twitter.com about Shadow the Hedgehog who fucked my wife with his quilly dick. but there's like this laser that hits the moon. He's like, I'm gonna piss on the moon, and then just like, and it's like, you have 24 hours before the piss droplets rain upon the earth. It's great. It's great.
Okay, so last one, guys.
All right.
The longest reigning monarch ever was Louis the 13th of France. He ruled for 72 years,
The Sun King.
110 days. Truth or shit?
Legit.
I don't know if it was that long, but he is definitely one of the longest living monarchs. I'm not sure. I feel like it was probably more in the 60-year range, but I could be wrong.
What did you say, Nick?
Legit.
He's saying it's legit.
I think I'll have to say it's shit on a technicality. But he is one of the longest ruled monarchs for sure.
It is shit.
You know, after
It's
I said
actually
it, I
Louis
was
the
thinking, I was
14th.
like, 72.
Oh,
Wait, what?
It was Louis the 14th.
Jesus. All right.
Oh, but
Louis
he
the
ruled for 17 or 72 years.
Yeah, it's still
So that's like a
still
good-
Louis the 13th.
Oh, yeah. No,
I have
That's a good
no
bulk of
idea what.
your life right there. So he must have started. I mean, when
72
he was really
years,
young.
110 days. Let's figure that out. So there's Louis.
I guess he must have been a child. Like,
Was this like a long time ago, like centuries ago?
no, this was a pre-French Revolution. It wasn't too far after, or sorry, it wasn't too far before that.
Oh, okay.
He ruled
Succeeded
up
his
into,
father in 1643
yeah, he ruled up
at the
into
age of 4 years
1700s.
old. He was 4
4?
years and 8 months old.
Oh my gosh!
According to the laws of the kingdom, he became not only the master but the owner of
Imagine,
the bodies. And
imagine if like
property.
Americans could
19
become the
million
president
subjects.
at 4 years
4 years
old.
old.
Like,
Well, I'm assuming he probably had counsel.
Yeah, for sure.
There's no way a 4-year-old could
and
do that.
you know, back in those days, living 72 years was pretty big accomplishment.
Well, that's pretty good already.
Yeah.
Living as the king is even better, you know.
So who was Louis the 13th that I quoted?
I'm
He was a nicer looking man.
trying to think.
Yeah, Louis the.
Now I'm just thinking about Henry VIII's gay son.
So, son of Henry the Fourth, became king in 1610 upon the death of his father. Mother acted as regent for the kingdom.
I told you I was reading that book about the Battle of Hastings, right?
No,
It's been pretty good so far. I thought it was very interesting.
good old. Good, I love history.
Honestly,
On the next cast, we need to just dive like into history.
that'd
That's
be
what we
fun,
need
I
to do.
think. I'll be
'Cause I think
back.
that would be great. Yeah, you'll be back.
But
They always come back.
I love how in the Battle of Hastings book they're talking about all the sources that they use. Like they don't just give you one source. They're like, okay, well this book says this and this book says this. The truth
That's
is probably somewhere in between. But what's funny is that like I read a book on the Carthaginians, right? And you know like how Carthage rose and how it eventually fell.
Yeah.
And all about Hannibal and everything. That was totally cool. But anyways, so part of the like numerous times throughout the story, they were like, well, this document doesn't survive, but it was referenced in this document which did survive, so that's how we know it, which is kind of like the historical equivalent of like having a family video.
So, your best friend's mother's uncle.
Right. Well, it's like you having a home video and you can see kind of part of a game show in the background, and that's the only record of the game show. It's crazy. But I'm just like, man, archaeologists and all that's got to be a wild ass time.
I mean, you can't ignore stuff like that pops up, but at the same time, it's like I think there are probably some things that never existed.
Well, you know, they were talking about the Battle of Stamford Bridge, which is where Harold defeated Harold of Godwinson. He fought against Harold Hardrada, who was from Norway.
Yeah.
And so they were like, well, we don't really have any details of how the battle went. I mean, obviously he won, but we don't know how. And it's just like, oh, that's
Okay.
pretty strange, actually.
Okay, Cody.
Anyway.
So we're gonna have you do a wonderful thing for us.
All right.
Basically, if you want to do like Scotty did and give us your best impression of whoever you want to intro us in, but
do
if you
have a
can
lot
just
of
say
impressions.
get disarranged, or
Okay.
say hi, I'm such and such, and get disarranged.
What character do I wish to perform?
You can do anyone.
You have a plethora, I'm sure.
Yeah, Cody's got a bunch. Do John Redcorn.
You would invite me on your white man show in order to perform for you? This is after centuries of injustice? Are you thinking about my sweet Nan Nan? I love John.
Say hi, I'm John Redcorn, and get disarranged.
Hi, I'm John Redcorn, and it's time for you to listen to the Disarranged podcast.
All right, now you give us a get disarranged.
What's up, everybody? I'm Cody Ball, and get disarranged.
Awesome. Okay, man. Well, it was so much fun. Thank you for coming.
Well, thank you for having me on.
Absolutely, man. Thank you.
You will come back soon. I'm sorry you're feeling bad, Nick.
Hey,
Hopefully
man,
it'll
I'll be top notch on the next one. Sorry that this one.
You did good. It's just as it's getting later, I can tell you're draining
It's always
down,
when you have like a sickness, it's always worse at night.
It's always worse at night
for whatever reason.
It's
So,
always
NyQuil, baby.
good old NyQuil.
Yeah. But yeah, Cody. So tell everybody your Instagram and your Facebook one more time.
All right, so let's see. I don't really
The
have
ones you want everybody to follow.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
Your socials that you
the
want
best
to highlight.
The best social platform if you want to see more of my work is I'm on. It's at Core Commander Cody on Instagram. That's where I do all my custom work. I post typically every day something. I also have a cosplay account, which is also sort of my regular guy account, but it's at _Rider of Black, which is based off of one of my favorite characters. Like that was his designation, and it's Astolfo from Fate series. Anyway, but the point was those are my two Instagrams. That's where I post like the most stuff that you can look at, I guess. And you can also see mine Joe Customs as well because I'm trying to upload there as well. But anyway,
these links will be in the description of the YouTube video.
All right.
And Cody, thanks so much, man. You're a great supporter of everything that like me and Blakely do, and obviously you and Blakely have been friends for as long as y'all can remember. So anytime you want to come back on, man, you're more than welcome.
Well, I'd be glad to. I got more shit to talk about.
Oh,
we got plenty of shit to talk about. Well, it's been lovely. It's been 2 weeks. We'll see you in 2 more. Have a great night, everybody, or day, whatever you're listening to this.
Peace.
Get disarranged at all times. Come on, Nick, say something.
Penis.
Prepare to get disarranged.